Book Sports live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. SEC Media Days are over for us. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Boy, I'll tell you, the idea of being at SEC Media Days today, the idea of being there, and it's not that, I think it's pretty obvious that I kind of think SEC Media Days are a little stupid, but the idea of being at SEC Media Days on the afternoon of the Thursday, the last day, it is painful because nobody's there anymore. Like, it's hard enough at the Super Bowl when people are leaving left and right on that Friday, but that's the Super Bowl. And, you get Lawrence Taylor walking around on Radio Row, and I did not have the skins to go up to Lawrence Taylor and say, hey, LT, would you like to come on my program in Nashville, Tennessee? I wanted to do it, but I just couldn't do it. I just didn't have it in me. But it's even worse, Radio Row at SEC Media Days, because everybody is completely and totally packed up by 3 o'clock. I mean, you see the tumbleweed going across. So we're not there today. But Tennessee hit the podium and really said nothing. At least I think they really said nothing. Because with most of these, I think most of these coaches have been trained, they've been told not to really say anything. But I do think there is an incredibly fascinating element of the 2023 season, and I find the Tennessee Volunteers to be the most interesting team in the Southeastern Conference. And I really only feel that way for one specific reason. Because I want to know if Tennessee football is back. I want to know if they are back, and back for good. Last year was a special season, but they also had a special quarterback. Last year saw the first victory over Alabama and forever. We saw Tennessee as the number one team in the college football playoff rankings. Tennessee at the end of the year could have backdoored their way into the playoff. It would have been really easy. And then it all fell apart in that South Carolina game. But if you were to ask me, do I think that the Vols are back for good? I don't know what I would say. I was asked yesterday on Jared versus Joe about whether or not the Vols are back. Joe Rex wrote, and look, Joe sometimes, I think he gets suckered in a little too much with the local college teams. And I think he does it equally with Vanderbilt and Tennessee. And in basketball, I think he'll get suckered in with Belmont sometimes too. But Joe is completely suckered in and sold on the idea that Josh Heupel is the man and that Tennessee is here for good and that in a 12-team playoff, Ian, wasn't it over 10 years in a 12-team playoff? Joe said he thinks Tennessee will make it 4 times.
Yes.
Okay, so he thinks they're back. I don't know. I take Tennessee very seriously this season. Now, I thought they were going to win 10 games last year. I thought they were going to lose to Alabama and Georgia. I didn't think they were going to lose to South Carolina. So I feel good that I got the 10 wins right. But the Alabama game was essentially where the Tennessee program declared that they were back. This year, I take them very seriously. Joe Milton played well against Vandy and Clemson. They smoked Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That Fakakta offense that they run where they split everybody outside the numbers and they just run down the field and nobody can cover it. I mean, that's not going away. That offensive system made Drew Lock at Missouri a second-round pick in the NFL draft. A lot of people thought Drew Lock was going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft because of that Fakakta system. So that system's still there. I know Jalen Hyatt's gone. I know Cedric Tillman's gone. Obviously, Hendon Hooker's gone. But that system is still there. Now, I don't get into the nitty-gritty of recruiting, especially now. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but unless you're like a diehard message board college football fan, recruiting has lost a lot of its luster because it's kind of evolved into the Major League Baseball or the NHL draft where it's like, we recruited this guy for the class of 2024, and we're really, really excited about him coming in here. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, 2024 is a year from now. So it wouldn't even be this season. It would be next season that this 5-star receiver that Tennessee just got, or any recruit, comes in. And by the time that happens, he might decommit, he might recommit, he might commit somewhere else, and then he might get paid more NIL money at another school, LSU, might get paid more money at another school, and then all of a sudden he goes to your program but doesn't play right away because he needs to gain a little weight, or there's a guy that's in front of him that's bad, and then all of a sudden he ends up transferring and going somewhere else anyways. So, I mean, I don't get into the nitty-gritty of recruiting, but Tennessee's apparently doing a pretty good job of it. Apparently, they've got their quarterback of the future. And when you talk about Tennessee football and Nico Iamaleava, I think that's his last name, when they talk about Nico in the future of Tennessee, I mean, they're more sure of him being the quarterback of the future than anybody is about Will Levis being the future of the Titans at quarterback. So I think Tennessee is a real SEC team. As in, I look at the Tennessee Volunteers in 2023, and I don't feel the same way about them that I do Georgia or Alabama, but I probably feel the same way about them as I do everybody else. I think LSU is a real team this year. I think that, again, these other schools like A&M, although the Bobby Petrino thing at A&M, I have a real hard time getting on board with that. Plus, I saw Jimbo walking around the other day, and he just looked horrible. Auburn with Hugh Freeze, that might be a real team. I mean, I remember when I used to go to SEC Media Days when they were in Birmingham, 2019, 2018, 2017, all those years that we would go. And I remember that we'd roll through all these guests talking college football. And it was like any ESPN or SEC network or any, okay, we'll get Greg McElroy, then we'll get Jordan Rodgers, then we'll get Chris Doering, then we'll get, this guy. And it was almost like we would ask him the same questions over and over and over again. And one of the questions that we used to ask all the time was about Tennessee. And I would ask the question about Tennessee, do you think that Tennessee is going to be relevant again as a college football power, or do you think the door's shut? Nebraska, for instance, is a former college football power who I don't ever see again competing for national titles on a consistent basis. And they may get a superstar coach to show up at Nebraska, but as soon as he takes them somewhere for that 1 or 2 years, he's gone. I don't think Josh Heupel's leaving Tennessee. So I go back to those questions 3-4 years ago about, is Tennessee ever going to be back? Well, last year, Tennessee was back. In 2022, Tennessee was back. Look at the TV ratings. Look at the wins. Look at the stats. Look at they had a Heisman candidate, or at least should have been a Heisman candidate at quarterback. The TV ratings on CBS were through the roof for their games against Georgia and Alabama. They beat Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That is a real bowl. That is a Big Daddy Bowl. And so, last year they were back. They're a real SEC team. Now the question is, can you do it again? Can you do it again? Or were you a one-hit wonder? In college sports, we oftentimes give credit to the coach as opposed to the players. In pro sports, it's almost always been players. Coaches get credit too, but it's always about the players. Yes, Phil Jackson gets credit, but the championships were about Michael and Kobe. College sports, it's the other way around. Because there's no consistency with the players in college sports. Watch the NCAA tournament. Next year, those guys are all gone. But it's always the same. Saban, Calipari, Rick Pitino. They're there for forever. And so the coaches kind of become the stars. But oftentimes in college football, what we see is a team that has unbelievable players for one reason or another, win a national championship, compete for a national championship with all of those unbelievable players, and then the next year, right back to where you were. Don't believe me? Ask Ed Orgeron. Now, Hendon Hooker's not Joe Burrow, and Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt are not Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. But Tennessee also didn't win the national championship by 50 points every game like 2019 LSU did. So the big question long term for Tennessee football, and it starts this season, is, are you back for real? Or was last year just the year where everything went right? Alabama had a down season. You got to play them at home. LSU early on had a bunch of issues. Brian Kelly got them sorted out by the end of the season, but you went to LSU and you blew them out. Kentucky, with an NFL draft prospect at quarterback, had no receivers, no offensive line, and the offensive coordinator had no clue what he was doing. Was it the perfect storm last year with a great all-time Tennessee quarterback and an all-time quarterback season? Or is this program for real? Last year, they were back. I'm not disputing that. Last year, they were a title contender until the very end of the season of the South Carolina game. But are they going to consistently be showing up? I think about the rest of the SEC, and I think about the rest of the country when we talk about the national teams. I look at LSU with Brian Kelly. I get a feeling LSU's going to be back. LSU's got all that NIL money. Brian Kelly's had a successful career taking Notre Dame to the playoff and the national championship games, even though they got slaughtered every time they got there. He took them there. And LSU is a very, very proud and popular program. I look at USC with Lincoln Riley, and I think USC had those down years with Clay Helton, but USC's going to be back. USC almost made the playoff last year. They screwed it up just like Tennessee did. But Lincoln's going to get a new quarterback every year, just like he did at Oklahoma. And they may not make the playoff this year, but they'll make it next year or the year after that. And with a 12-team playoff, you're going to see USC. Even though they play in the Big Ten now, you're going to see USC in the college football playoff. But then there's some other school. I mean, is Sonny Dykes going to take TCU every single year to the national championship game? Is Jim Harbaugh 2 in a row at Michigan? Are they going to consistently compete? And that's where Tennessee football is right now for me, which is last year, you proved something that not a lot of people believed about Tennessee football. But now it's the harder part, doing it again. And I don't know the answer. I would love, you know me, I love having strong opinions. I love saying, the Tennessee Vols are back, the Tennessee Vols stink, the Tennessee... I have no idea what to expect. Is this an 8-4 team? Is this another 10-2 team? Joe Milton, is this a national championship team? I don't know. But I think it's the biggest question in the SEC. I think it might be one of the biggest questions in the country in college football. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in today on the program, 615-737-1025. Plus the other part of the Tennessee program this season that I'm not sure I have a strong feeling about one way or another. It's very difficult for me to invest in probably the most important aspect of this team. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025 today on the program. Hey, tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the AAA affiliate of the Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. And tomorrow, the Game Summer Ticket Tour is headed to Bringle's Smoking Oasis, located at 4901 Centennial Boulevard in Nashville. Tomorrow afternoon from 2 to 6. Come eat, drink, hang, and leave with a pair of free Sounds, Preds, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, or concert tickets. Also, get signed up for the grand prize. Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at Opryland Hotel with access to sound waves. Black Tie Moving delivers the Game Summer Ticket Tour. For more details, go to thegamenashville.com/tour.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car.
Selling your car by yourself can lead to some strange encounters.
So how many bodies does this car hold?
Bodies? It's a 5-passenger car.
Right. Passengers.
Don't deal with selling it yourself. Come to WeBuyAnyCar.com instead. It's easy. You get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price.
I sell mannequins. Oh, what'd you think? Nothing. Nothing at all.
Get your free online valuation now at
WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Hey folks, it's Joe Rexrode here talking to you about PhD weight loss. Had a goal of 38 pounds to lose. Sitting here at 29 right now, and let me tell you something. It's easy. I feel great. I'm loving the food items they provide, and they can give you up to 85% of your food. No pills, no gimmicks, no other suppressants. And the thing about this program is that it feels sustainable. You know, a big thing for people who want to lose weight, of course, there's a plateau busting program. If you try to lose weight before, you know about the plateau. Eventually, you kind of get to a stall-out situation, and you stop doing it. This is a constant care program. It's designed for you. It's tweaked for you. You have a coach who talks with you weekly. Rachel does a fantastic job of explaining things to me, motivating me, and helping me understand how this all works. You're going to know what's happening to your body. You're getting rid of visceral fat that can do a lot of damage to it. And, of course, like I said, simple and easy, weekly phone discussions, and there's a guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight at the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. This works, and it's sustainable. Join me down. You won't regret it. Visit myphdweightloss.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With Hendon Hooker, you had a transfer that came in, had some success at the quarterback position. Now you've got Joe at quarterback, who's a transfer himself. And I know you saw that growth with Hendon. Talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think, one of the great stories in college football in the era of the transfer portal is, his trust and ability to recognize areas that he can continue to grow in and trust the people around him, that we have his best interests at heart, understand that within our scheme he's going to have an opportunity to do everything that he wants to, which is be one of the best players inside of college football. And through that process, over the last, 18 to 24 months, he's continued to grow in his comfort of who he is, what he's about, how he wants to approach and attack every single day. How he wants to grow as a football player, meaning fundamentally at the quarterback position, along with understanding offensive and defensive schemes so that he can put his eyes in the right spot, get his body in the right spot to be consistently accurate with the football.
Does anybody know what that actually just meant? Like anything that Josh Heupel just said there. See, that's why I hate media days. Is it's like we have, an extraneously long question that could be summed up in about 8 words, and then this long answer that doesn't say anything. Can we get that cut back again? I hate media days. Can we get that back? Let's play the question first. Ian, how long is that cut?
1 minute and 4 seconds.
Okay, 1 minute and 4 seconds. Let's get the question in there, and let's see if we could sum this up a lot quicker.
With Hendon Hooker, you had a transfer that came in, had some success at the quarterback position. Now you've got Joe at quarterback, who's a transfer himself. And I know you saw that growth with Hendon. Talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think,
can't you just easily say, we saw Hendon Hooker develop. Do you see something similar with Joe? Or where is Joe Milton in terms of his development compared to Hendon Hooker? I think that seems pretty easy, right? Now let's go to the answer.
What it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think, one of the great stories in college football in the era of the transfer portal is, his trust and ability to recognize areas that he can continue to grow in and trust the people around him, that we have his best interests at heart, understand that within our scheme he's going to have an opportunity to do everything that he wants to, which is be one of the best players inside of college football. And through that process, over the last, 18 to 24 months, he's continued to grow in his comfort of who he is, what he's about, how he wants to approach and attack every single day, how he wants to grow as a football player, meaning fundamentally at the quarterback position, along with understanding offensive and defensive schemes so that he can put his eyes in the right spot, get his body in the right spot to be consistently accurate with the football.
Okay, so basically he's working hard every day. That's the answer. It's just so ridiculous. And they got me on a soapbox. But here's the other thing. I don't know if I really believe in Joe Milton. Now, on one hand, I've got the fact that Joe Milton has all the tangibles, right? All the measurables. He's humongous. He can throw a strawberry through a battle cruiser. He's athletic. He's got, a lot of the things that people want when it comes to being a quarterback. The second thing is everybody keeps giving him jobs. He won the starting job at Michigan. He won the starting job at Tennessee over Hendon Hooker. The problem is it feels like those reasons, those measurables, are why he wins those jobs, and his lack of success is why he loses them. Now, I don't want to hear the Joe Milton got hurt against Pittsburgh, and that's why Joe Milton lost the job. Joe Milton lost the job because Joe Milton was sucking in that game against Pittsburgh. To call it how it is. Then Hendon Hooker goes in, plays well, it's his job. We've seen that 100 times. Max Brown won the starting job at USC over Sam Darnold. And then after one game, Sam Darnold was the quarterback. This would not be the first time that that's happened. The second thing is, he keeps losing those jobs. Now, if Hendon Hooker were to have another year of eligibility in college and play in college until he's 35, if Hendon Hooker were to have another season, and he tore his ACL last year, but let's say that he was cleared to go for game one, do you think there'd be any question for Josh Heupel as to who the quarterback would be? And the answer is no. So I know that Joe Milton loses his job because he gets hurt at Michigan and at Tennessee, but those coaches don't want to give him the job back. Whereas Tom Brady tears his ACL and he's right back in there. Peyton Manning has a neck surgery, goes to a different team, but he's right back in there. Because for those guys, it's like, yeah, now we ain't playing the other guy. So with Milton, I just don't really know what to expect. On one hand, he plays in this weird offensive guru college scheme that makes everybody a good quarterback, probably could make me a good quarterback. On the other hand, he wasn't good enough to stay atop the depth chart in this Fakakta offensive system. On one hand, last year after Hendon Hooker got hurt, he was solid against Vanderbilt and really good against Clemson in the Orange Bowl. But on the other hand, it was Vanderbilt, and I don't know, how many guys played for Clemson or didn't play or anything like that. And I don't know how much of the success in 2022 at Tennessee was about the quarterback and how much of it was about the coach. Even the success they had, kind of the bright spots of showing that there was a nice future ahead in 2021, I still don't know how much of that was the quarterback and how much of that was the coach. The Orange Bowl makes me think it might be the coach. His record at UCF makes me think it might be the quarterback. So I live personally kind of in this bubble of sports media where it is so, everybody's afraid to say that they don't know. And I don't know, coaches don't want to say they don't know, players don't want to say they don't know, especially media people do not want to say that they don't know. But when it comes to Joe Milton, I don't know. Oh, yesterday in Jared versus Joe, Caroline asked a question about him being a potential first-round pick. Like, he's got an arm, he's got size, he's not old. I mean, he's playing in his sixth season in college, but I think he's only 23 years old. I could see it. But then he's sat the bench for a long time for some kind of reason. So for me, I think, again, Tennessee's the biggest question mark in the SEC. I know Alabama's going to be good. I know Georgia's going to be good. I know LSU's going to be good. I know the other schools aren't going to be that good. But when it comes to Tennessee, I don't know if they're going to be able to compete at the top level. I don't know if this quarterback is going to be any good. I don't know if Josh Heupel's success is all because he had that special quarterback for those 2 years in Hendon Hooker. 615-737-1025 if you want to get in. Coming up next, I have an idea. And normally when I have ideas, you guys or other people like to shoot them down real quickly. For some reason, though, this idea that I've got has not gotten shot down by anybody. Even the bigwigs. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025 here on the program. And let me tell all the fine folks, you can watch us streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. And our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use promo code THEGAME. And 102.5-106.3 The Game has your chance to win tickets to Misfits Boxing X Series 008 boxing matches at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium Saturday. Text in the keyword boxing to the Game text line at 615-737-1025 now to enter.
Every day we are live and local.
I think Vanderbilt is steady, disciplined.
It's been so long since Tennessee's gotten out of the first weekend.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I don't mind going to another team. You want to know what the coaching staff's going to look like.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Gypsy Kings featuring Tonino Baliardo return to Nashville with a concert that will take you on a trip down memory lane. The Gypsy Kings will be performing their greatest hits November 4th at TPAC Andrew Jackson Hall. For you to dance and enjoy an unforgettable night. Tickets on sale through ToninoBaliardo.com. A Loud and Live production.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher versus Hasim Rahman Jr., and many, many more. Misfits 008 tickets are available now, starting at $20 from Ticketmaster.com.
Do I need Medicare when I turn 65, or can I wait?
With more than 70 years of experience helping Tennesseans, Farm Bureau Health Plans can answer all your questions about Medicare.
Part A, B, C, D, it's all alphabet soup to me.
So if you're looking for an affordable way to cover the gaps left by Medicare or protection from the high cost of prescription drugs, you can plan on us to make it easy. Find out more at fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Hey y'all, it's Courtney with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Warmer months have you working overtime? Be sure to visit Parman Tractor and Equipment for all your New Holland tractor and bush hog needs. Swing by our store at 3570 Dickerson Pike in North Nashville or give our sales team a call. We're now offering 0% financing for 72 months on select New Holland tractors. Get the brands you trust from a local dealer like Parman, always ensuring totally outrageous customer service. Visit ParmanTractor.com for the best deals on equipment, New Holland tractor, bush hog, and more.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Penny Hardaway, University of Memphis coach. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Greg Sankey's with us, the commissioner of the SEC. Can I give you my two suggestions about the new stadium? Because I never thought we were going to get the SEC championship game. These opening weekend games. Now, I hear they're a pain in the butt to fill, but could Nashville take that Thursday that opens college football season every year and we have it at our new stadium with a premier SEC team to start the college football season?
So the answer could, yes. I mean, that's the possibility you want to keep open. The economics of that have to work. So moving a game for one of our home communities into a neutral site impacts that home community for our university. It also can be revenue, I think, neutral, but kind of even out depending on how often you do it. You've seen some of our programs that almost annually engage in these neutral site games. That's one of the opportunities of which I just spoke.
There you go. That was Greg Sankey yesterday on the program, and I asked again the question, which was, I said I had two suggestions. His handler kind of gave me the wrap it up, so I only got that one in there. But we'll get to the second suggestion in a second. And I will say that he didn't shoot that down. Now, yesterday, I talked to a bunch of people, not only on the show, but I also talked to people behind the scenes, off the record, on the record, whatever. And the general consensus that I got from that suggestion, that starting in 2027, every Thursday night opener of college football happens here in Nashville as a tradition, was met with a lot of optimism and a lot of support. Now, I know I have some crazy theories and crazy ideas, and people get worked up, and sometimes it's not even what I say, it's how I say it that gets people all bent out of shape. But I don't see how this could not be a good thing. Now, here's the issue, and Greg Sankey alluded to it there, which is that in order to get those games, you have to pay the teams, especially the team that is giving up a home game. In this case, both teams, we could argue, would be giving up a home game because, for instance, when Florida plays Utah, and I used them as an example from last year that could have been held at our new stadium starting in 2027. This year, Florida goes to Utah. We're seeing more of these home and homes because they make a lot of money when they have a game at home. TV gets their money because they get Alabama versus Texas and the good ratings from it, and the school gets their money because they're opening up the gates and it's a packed house. And unlike Scarbini State, every seat is filled with a popcorn buyer or a T-shirt buyer or a parking user. So that revenue has to be made up, which means that it's on us and the Titans and the sports people in town and the SEC and the schools to figure out a way to buy those home games. But I'm not worried that we can't do that. And I'll give you a couple reasons why. Number one, we're already doing some of that. This year, Tennessee and Virginia play at Nissan Stadium. If they can play at Virginia at Nissan Stadium, they can't play Virginia at the new Titan Stadium to open up the college football season, to have the number one game in town on ESPN? I think they probably could. Number two, the Broadway element that we have used, whether it is the NFL draft, whether it is the SEC basketball tournament, whatever it may be, where they have these free concerts and they bring in a Dierks Bentley or a Tim McGraw or a whomever, and they stick them downtown just like the NHL did, that plays on TV. Remember Luke Bryan opening up the Stanley Cup final in 2017? And third, another reason why I think we can do this is because we're going to have corporate sponsors that would probably want to get really involved in this. And the most obvious to me is Nissan, because Nissan is not only a humongous sponsor of Nashville sports, given the fact that they're headquartered here, but they're also humongously involved in college football with their Heisman campaigns. Remember the Nissan Heisman House? So I think every year we could get this tradition going, which is our stadium host the opener on that Thursday night of college football every year, 7 o'clock, ESPN, the first game of the year, and it's always an SEC team versus a good non-SEC team. So Alabama versus Penn State. It would cost you, but it'd be great. Started off with a big concert that starts at 6 o'clock, get College Game Day out there, and boom, right into our new stadium. And I think we could do that every year. One year it could be Alabama, Penn State. The next year it could be Tennessee versus Louisville, North Carolina, Florida State, all those schools, Clemson, we could see them all. Get some schools out of the Big Ten, we could do it. The second suggestion that I had, and again, a lot of people in college football, the power brokers, not just on the record, but talking behind the scenes. The second suggestion I had was I think the opener in 2027. Now, this may be difficult because I think Tennessee's already got a game with Nebraska scheduled for 2027, but you could move that. Tennessee should open up the new stadium 2027. The Titans will play their first game, their first home game, probably on Sunday Night Football to open up that new stadium in 2027. But the first game that is played there, like I believe Alabama versus Florida State was the first game at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the first game here should be Tennessee versus Notre Dame. I think if you get Tennessee versus Notre Dame in the first game at the new stadium, that would blow it out of the water. You'd have a packed house. It'd be a huge TV draw with both of those teams. And I think that could kickstart not only the grand opening of our new stadium, but it could also kickstart that new tradition that I think we should start, which is to host the first Thursday of college football with a marquee game every year. Now, again, one thing I was told was that apparently it is like pulling teeth to try to get these matchups set up. And everybody's got games like this. Dallas has a game like this. Atlanta has 2 games like this every year. Charlotte has a game like this. So everybody, Orlando at that Camping World Stadium, they're all trying to get games like this. But I think we could do it. And I think just, again, kicking off the season, I mean, the truth is as far as college football is concerned, We're the second biggest city in America that cares about college football. Number one is Atlanta. We're number 2. I think we could make it work. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. Lincoln has been waiting patiently. He's going to kick us off today. Thank you for calling. What's up, Lincoln?
Hey, Jared. I think that what you're saying with the Nashville getting a SEC neutral site game is a great idea. But, I mean, why just stop at non-conference matchups when so many SEC schools have gotten used to traveling to Nashville for the SEC tournament, SEC Media Day, all these schools. Like, Nashville's kind of become the new epicenter for SEC with Texas, Oklahoma, A&M, kind of wise. So I don't see why we couldn't maybe get some rivalry games in Nashville as like a neutral site. Now, I'm not saying something like maybe like moving Florida to Georgia. Like, obviously that won't work, but why not have Tennessee get one of their rivalry games? Like,
they're not giving that
Vanderbilt,
up. They're not giving that up.
You don't think they're going to give that up?
They're not giving it up. Thank you for calling it. They're not giving that up. So I hear what you're saying, but they're not giving that up. The only one that they could do is Tennessee versus Vanderbilt in the stadium. Vanderbilt did that a couple years ago, or 20 years ago, and it was overblown with Tennessee fans, as you would expect. Vanderbilt fans hated it. They're never going to do it again. It's just not going to happen. So I would love that. And I do think, part of this grand tradition of opening the season up on that Thursday before the NFL starts to get it started in Nashville, I mean, I do think that regardless of whether or not we do that, we're probably going to have some Tennessee and some Vandy at the new stadium. We should have Tennessee and Vandy, not each other, but their games at the new stadium from time to time. But they're not going to give those up. And you talk about the Florida-Georgia rivalry. I believe now Texas-Oklahoma is played in the Cotton Bowl every year, but I believe that Florida-Georgia is the only SEC game that is played at a neutral site every season. I think that's right. Kirby Smart has been trying for years to get that game put back on campus. And what's going to happen is the Jags are going to redo their stadium, and the plans to redo the stadium in Jacksonville are going to involve them not playing at whatever that crap hole stadium is that they have down there, whatever it's called now, what used to be Alltel Stadium. Was it TIAA Bank Stadium, or is that Baltimore?
I think that's Jacksonville.
Okay. Baltimore might be M&T Bank Stadium. I cannot keep up anymore with these freaking names.
They've changed a lot.
So whatever that stadium in Jacksonville is, I think it's TIAA Bank Field. I don't know, and I don't care. The Jacksonville Stadium. So for 2 years, Jacksonville's going to have to play. I think they're talking about playing at Daytona Speedway. I think is something that I heard. But for those 2 years, the Florida-Georgia game is going to be on campus. And I think if they pull the Florida-Georgia game out of Jacksonville and they put it on campus, it's not going back. And every year, Kirby Smart comes out and yells and screams and cries about how we lose a recruiting weekend that we could have had if we could play it right here, right then, right now. And so I don't think you're getting SEC games. Oh, Texter says that Arkansas A&M play at Jerry World every year. And the reason why they're willing to give that up, because Jerry pays for it. Jerry's an Arkansas guy, A&M's in Texas, and Jerry pays. I don't think Amy's paying to get any of these teams to play a rivalry game here. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, I am triggered by a developing story in the NFL. And there's really only one caveat. There's only one way out of this, and it is pathetic, but we'll get to that next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer long with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. Like when you purchase select new HVAC systems, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. Stay chillin' all summer long. Call Hiller today. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee, and I know this because I use Hiller at my home. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Guys, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad. It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stillman Company.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe, and I've been telling you about PhD weight loss for a couple months now. I'm down 22 pounds since I have been on the program, and I love it. It's been set up by Dr. Ashley Lucas, obviously a best-selling author. She's put this whole program together, and it is showing results. The thing I like about it is it's custom-made for me. I have a coach, Rachel, that I talk to weekly, and she adjusts the plan for me as I go. 85% of the food is provided. You can use your own food as well, and your coach will help you through that entire process. And that's what I love. Like I said, it's made for me with those customized meal plans. Here's the other part that's awesome. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That is their offer guarantee. So check it out, myphdweightloss.com. That is the website. You can go and read more about it and sign up. myphdweightloss.com.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
When it comes to Chase McCabe,
The Nashville Predators, the Titans, the NBA, college football, talk a little racing.
you get a little bit of everything.
But hey, you know what? We're getting it done.
Join Chase McCabe weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Running backs around the league are mad. Several top backs not able to reach a contract with their teams, including Saquon Barkley, who has yet to sign his franchise tender and is mulling a holdout, in fact. Here's our own Louis Riddick on what he'd recommend to Saquon Barkley.
I tell him to sit. I tell him that's the only look. You know what'll happen if you go in. You're right. You sign your tender. You get yourself in shape. You make your $10 million plus, which is nothing to sneeze at. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot of money. And then you see what happens next year, whether or not they try and franchise you again or whether or not you can go somewhere else. Or if you really want to, like, say, hey, look, no, I'm better than that. I deserve to try and make people start thinking that, hey, look, when you have one-of-one types like I believe that I am, you need to reward us accordingly, not just on what we did in the past, but what I still believe I can do in the future. Well, the only way that you can kind of make that point is to sit out.
Louis Riddick on ESPN. I find that take to be a disqualifying take for anybody who thinks Louis Riddick should ever be a general manager in the NFL. And it's played into this notion. Saquon Barkley went on a podcast and talked about his quote-unquote leverage with the Giants. And basically at this point, his only leverage is to not sign the franchise tag tender, to not show up to training camp, and to not play in the season. And I just want everybody out there to know that that idea is unequivocally preposterous. And what honestly drives me crazy, And I know that the general person in Nashville, Tennessee, does not care about Saquon Barkley's contract, which I wish Saquon Barkley would realize that most people do not care. But what is so incredibly preposterous, what is just driving me insane, is the idea perpetuated by people who cover football and should know better that Saquon Barkley actually has leverage against the Giants. Saquon Barkley has no leverage against the Giants. You want to know why there's never a strike in the NFL? Why they always happen to get a CBA done? Because the players have no leverage. The billionaire owners make their money from TV whether or not the games are played. I know, amazing, I don't get it either. But that is the ultimate trump card. They get paid no matter what. So while there's some negotiating and there's some back and forth and there's some, ultimately the owners are going to get whatever they want from the players because they have all the leverage. Don't believe me? Go look up what happened in the 87 strike. So when it comes to the running backs and Saquon Barkley in particular, the leverage that he thinks he has is I could not show up. I'd show them, which would be great if it hadn't already been tried before and it hadn't already failed miserably, which it did with Le'Veon Bell, and that was a $14 million from the Steelers that he was never going to get back. What drives me crazy is that there aren't people that cover this sport that will just stand up on national TV and say, Saquon, the idea of you not showing up for the games, forget about camp. I don't care about that. I mean, he does have the leverage to not show up for camp. And if I were Saquon Barkley, I wouldn't show up for camp either. You know, that's going to be my tax. You didn't get a deal done. I'm going to show up for the first game. But the fact that there are not people in the national media that look into these cameras and say, Saquon, that idea is freaking stupid, is what just bothers me to my core. Saquon Barkley's best leverage, and I don't know where the negotiations stood, his best leverage came before they signed Daniel Jones to a contract extension. And I'm going to tell you why. Because with both Barkley and Jones, and this is understanding how the league works, which a lot of players don't, which is fine. That's why they have agents. But understanding how the league works is paramount. Both Barkley and Jones have serious questions surrounding them. So much so with the Giants and Jones, they didn't even pick up his fifth-year option. So Daniel Jones played better than expected last year, and they want to go forward with him. But I don't think they look at Daniel Jones and say for sure, this is our franchise quarterback. But they know, just like the Titans know, that Ryan Tannehill is no good to them without Derrick Henry, that Daniel Jones is no good without Saquon Barkley or a high-end running back. So faced with the choice between paying Daniel Jones or paying Saquon Barkley, or they ended up saying whichever one will take the closest deal to our terms is going to get the deal, the other's getting the tag. Remember, Daniel Jones wanted $45 million. Daniel Jones settled for 40. If the Giants had the option of the tag, he would have gotten nowhere near $40 million, and they would have tagged Daniel Jones at the $36 million. And the reason why they would have done that is because they probably want to see Daniel Jones prove it again before handing him $100 million. The problem is they were nowhere near close on a deal with Saquon Barkley because Saquon Barkley doesn't understand the value of running backs in the league, the ability to get new running backs in the league, the ability to sign other running backs in the league, and the fact that with the running back position, you can tag them once, you can tag them twice. You can't tag the quarterback twice. You can tag the running back twice. So the second Daniel Jones signed that contract, Saquon Barkley was done. His leverage was gone, and the franchise tag was coming no matter what he wanted. At that point, the leverage is gone. It's over. It's done. See ya. Finito. Gone. See ya. Goodbye. Then the only leverage he had getting a deal done was, hey, if we get this deal done before the deadline, then you'll have me for camp, you'll have me locked in, and you won't have to use the tag on me next year. And you could use the tag on somebody else. That's not a lot of leverage for Saquon. That's not very appealing to the Giants. Not when they can look at Saquon, who's got his own question marks, his injury history, and say, no, prove it again. Prove it again. Carry us again. And then we'll tag you. Saquon Barkley has lost his leverage every step of the way. And this idea that he could sit out, boy, that'll show him. Guess what? They'll just go sign Dalvin Cook. They'll just go sign Ezekiel Elliott. They'll just go sign one of these running backs like Deontay Foreman, and they'll run the ball. Will they be as good without Saquon Barkley? Probably not. But they'll figure it out. Again, it's running back. It's not quarterback. And unfortunately, the running backs don't understand that running backs in this league are incredibly replaceable. The values are down for a reason. And nobody in the media is sitting there telling them, guys, look, the way that the rules are structured, the way that this works is you're really not going to be able to get what you want. Nobody says that. Instead, you have Louis Riddick, one of ESPN's top analysts who is interviewed for general manager jobs, that throws out the most preposterous idea that Saquon Barkley sit out the season. Again, a preposterous idea that we've already seen executed, and it was laughable when Le'Veon Bell did it. And it just drives me crazy. Learn how the league works, folks. It just drives me nuts. 615-737-1025. I just had to get that off my chest. 615-737-1025. TD for the TD Power Hour. He will join us next. Coming here on the program, his reaction. DeAndre Hopkins in. George Fant maybe in. What does TD think about all of that? The latest with the Titans as we head into camp. We'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot. What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. With 35 miles of sugar white sands and emerald green Gulf waters, it's no wonder why. Let's unwind under the sun on Clearwater Beach, ranked #1 beach in the South by USA Today readers. And then liven up the night at the Sound, a new outdoor waterfront concert venue featuring performances this summer by Peter Frampton, the Goo Goo Dolls, and more. Let's shine. Plan your getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Hey, it's Teron Davenport, and we're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now, when you use the promo code THEGAME, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code THEGAME. Download the Superbook Sports app, enter the promo code THEGAME, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
This is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For most of us, sex is a big part of our relationship. So when something like erectile dysfunction starts affecting intimacy, it can be a real problem. But what you may not know is that ED doesn't just affect you, it can be tough on your partner as well. Plus, if you have ED, you know how it can make you feel. The truth is, we see a lot of guys who have depression, frustration, and even relationship issues because of ED. But we don't want ED to impact you or the one you love anymore. The Tennessee Men's Clinic tackles ED. Our urologists and medical providers take a comprehensive approach and have treated thousands of men with treatments that are successful in nearly 90% of cases. Even if your hormones are off, or if pills, wave therapy, or other treatments have left you hanging, the Tennessee Men's Clinic will work hard to help you get your sex life back, perhaps performing like you haven't in a long time. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices in Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community.
In their car, at home, or on the job, more than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. SEC Football Media Days wraps up today with Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer, and Vols head coach Josh Heupel all speaking at the podium. After a nice season last year, Vols head coach Josh Heupel talked about trying to build on that for this season.
Standard at Tennessee is to win championships. It's pretty clear. I think we're top 10 in the history of college football in wins, first-round draft picks. Bowls, bowl wins. The standard is to compete at the highest level and win championships. For us, that starts in the Eastern Division, which everybody knows that there's a lot of good football that's played in that division.
The Vols got some good news on the recruiting trail last night as five-star wide receiver Mike Matthews committed to Tennessee. The Detroit Lions have placed rookie quarterback Hendon Hooker on the reserve non-football injury list to begin training camp. Vikings rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison was cited for driving 140 miles per hour. And the Nashville Sounds return to action at First Horizon Park tonight as they host Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Pre-game coverage with Jeff Hem starts at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road. Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stillman Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Rebound and a score.
Make every play perfect.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. The TD Power Hour, 3 o'clock. Teron Davenport is with us, as always. And not only, in my opinion, did TD have the single most important report of the entire 52-day DeAndre Hopkins watch, but TD, as soon as the news broke, was on ESPN Radio right here on 102.5 The Game and was laying down the truth, especially when it came to the AFC South. TD, how are you?
I'm doing really well, man. Definitely good for business that the Hopkins signing happened, so I'm pleased about it.
All right, TD, let's start with this. We know that, because we've talked through and through what Hopkins could add to the team and how important it would be. But I want to start with this. Now that the dust is starting to settle a little bit, do we know when he's actually going to sign a contract?
Well, they said it's going to take a few days to get it worked out for whatever reason. So I would imagine tomorrow to Saturday. There's no weekends in NFL, so it could even be Sunday. I definitely feel it's going to be done before they start camp. I don't think we're going to speak to Hopkins until training camp, though.
I wonder, too, if it's to bring him in to sign him. If it were June, they bring him in, sign him, do the press conference, then he goes back wherever and comes. But because he's probably coming here for the long haul anyways, it's like, well, just get here on Monday. We'll do the physical and sign and then, talk on Tuesday or something like that, to that effect. TD, I do wonder, did you hear after the fact, did the Titans, at the end of the day push this across the finish line by upping the offer? Did DeAndre decide that he wanted to make this decision before training camp? Did the Titans have a deadline on DeAndre? How did this all shake out now that it's for the most part done?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a deadline or anything like that. I think it was just a matter of coming to a conclusion and saying, look, this is where I want to go. And obviously the Titans, from what Mike Reese told us and from what we've seen, had the most attractive offer. Apparently there were some things with incentives that, there were less incentives in the Titans contract than the other ones that he was looking at. So that, in my opinion, was the main factor. And obviously you could go into the other stuff as far as fit and everything, but money is the bottom line for most of us. So him getting that deal, 12 years with up to 12 million with, I'm thinking baseball deals, Shohei Ohtani, 12 million with up to 15 in guaranteed, with incentives and all that stuff. I think that's really what enticed him. And then also having that second year, I'm curious what the deal is with that second year, how that's going to work out.
It's funny you bring that up. We've heard, as soon as the news broke that DeAndre was going to sign with the Titans, Ian Rappaport had every incentive, but they didn't have the actual total guaranteed money. And I am fascinated about that second year as much as you are. I think that if the second year is kind of a phony second year in terms of, like, it's more of an option for the Titans than it is a true second year, I think that this is a fabulous deal for the Titans because they won't run the risk of, if DeAndre plays like DeAndre Hopkins used to play, that's a $25 million player in today's NFL. And they would have him for $13-14 million bucks. I mean, that seems like an incredible steal if that's the possibility. And I do wonder kind of what you heard on that second year, and if that was something that maybe held up this deal, was that DeAndre only wanted one or Rand was demanding two. I kind of wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, information has not been fluent in regards to that year two. So I do not know what the deal is with that, to be honest with you. But look, here's the thing. You compare that to the other free agent signings, receiver-wise, right? I would take DeAndre Hopkins at 2 years, 26 over what Jacoby Myers, what was he, 3 years, 33 or 36, something like that. Mm-hmm. I think the Titans did a good job from that perspective, regardless of what is going on in that year too. Either way, you look at the comparison. I don't have all the receiver numbers in front of me, but it's definitely, in my opinion, if not the best, one of the best. Yeah, so you look, Allen Lazard, 4 years, $44 million. Jacoby Myers, 3 years, $33 million. Yes, I know Lazard is 27, Myers is 36, but 2 years, 26. DeAndre Hopkins, the guy who had 64, receptions, 700 yards, et cetera, last year, one of the best in that stretch that he played. I think it compares very well, favorably to the other ones.
Do you think the second year could be completely fake? Tom Brady years ago signed a 3-year extension with the Patriots, and it was reported like it was a 3-year extension for Brady. And he was asked about it at a joint practice, and he told the reporter, "You don't know anything about my contract. That's none of your business." And then all of a sudden it came out that it wasn't really a 3-year extension. It was a 1-year deal, and the other two were void years, and that the Patriots had agreed to let Brady become a free agent at the end of the year. And it totally shifted the narrative from Brady will retire a Patriot to Brady could be gone at the end of the year. And I wonder, because we don't have any details on that second year, if this could be something like that, because I think that second year, if DeAndre is a number 2 receiver, to your point about Lazard and Myers and those guys are second receivers. They're not number 1s. If DeAndre is even a second receiver at this point in his career, I mean, that's still a little bit, below market value for a true number 2. And to get him for 2 years when I thought DeAndre would just want to reestablish his value and then go try to get another $20+ million cut, I am stunned by that. So could this be a fake second year, even for the Titans' sake? Or something's not adding up, TD.
Yeah, well, look, it says the only guarantee we know about is the $12 million, right? So who knows what is in that second year? There are so many directions that it could be taken, but the good thing is, at the very least, maximum output, we're talking about if he gets, 95 receptions, 1,050 yards, 10 touchdowns, maximum is $15 million. That production for $15 million is a bargain because he will have gotten that $15 million provided that he hit those numbers. Those are the benchmarks, the incentives, right, that would take it to the full value of that first year. So even if this year I know no more than $15 million, we could get 95 receptions, 1,050 yards, and 10 touchdowns. I would take that all day. That's how I would look at it if I was a Titans fan.
Sure, and not only that, the value of those stats to reach those incentives is like $28 million in today's NFL for a receiver. The other thing, sometimes with guys that are plugged in, TD, I always talk about the difference between I'm telling you and I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. And you said, I believe it was on Sunday you tweeted out, that the Titans should be interested in George Fant, the former offensive tackle of the Jets. Then it came out yesterday that the Titans are going to be working out George Fant. Jordan Schultz said, if all goes well, which to me I read as if he's in shape, sounds like the Titans are going to sign George Fant. Were you telling us you thought that they should be interested in George Fant, or were you telling us that they should be interested in George Fant?
A combination of the two. It's always funny. And see, I've learned, I like to be able to mature, right? And
Sure.
It's always funny because you put something like that out there and you get all these, Twitter GMs and everything. Well, this shouldn't work because of this, and all right, man, cool. And I got to a point now, I just let it ride. Like, I'm not going to go back and forth with you on what I know. Right, you know what I mean? It's cool. You got this idea, but it's coming from a direction of a good understanding. So yeah, it always cracks me up when you put something out there and you get all these, Twitter Ozzie Newsomes that want to come back with some foolishness.
Now the thing about Fant, I think they're going to sign him. I think he's going to have to win the job in camp, like win his roster spot, because they're not, I don't think, going to pay him to be a backup. And if he's on the roster week 1, then his contract is guaranteed for the rest of the year. I think that George Fant could actually knock Nicholas Petit-Ferrer out of the starting lineup, big picture this season, if he ends up signing with the Titans. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, you got to remember he's played mostly on the left side, so he's flipping to the right, and that's not an easy transition for everyone. Some are able to do it, so you're going to have that. Then you do have the knee stuff, man. Like, he missed significant time with a knee injury, and he came back in December, started 5 games, was out for the final one. I think, though, you look at the athleticism. I mean, this is a guy, like, you saw clips of him catching passes with Seattle, you know what I mean, in their practice, and you look at just what he brings to the table as a right tackle if he takes that position. I wouldn't be mad at that, but, it goes back to what Rand Carthon told Paul Kaharski and I at the owners' meetings, because we asked about the tackles, right? You drafted a tackle. He said, you know what? You can never have too many tackles.
Truth.
And if that wasn't one of those pinpoint accurate comments, I don't know what is.
I asked one of the guys I work with at Sirius, who's a big Jets fan because he lives in New York, I said, what do you think of George Fant? And he said, he's not bad. Mm-hmm. And my expectation was nothing, and he was certainly better than my expectations. And I'm like, you know what? Not bad at the tackle position for the Titans. I mean, they could use not bad right now, the way last year went. They could use not bad.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at what they had at left tackle. I mean, that's bad. That was bad, and so not bad means that, Ryan Tannehill could possibly not be under duress every single time he takes a snap, like he pretty much was last year.
Speaking of Tannehill and Henry, I think that the disrespect of Tannehill and Henry has absolutely elevated through the roof to a point I can't even believe it. I want your take on it next, TD. That's what we'll do, the TD Power Hour. And, of course, get your questions in for TD. We'll hit them at the end of the hour like we always do. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. More TD Power Hour. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
End zone throw. Oh, what a catch! One-handed DeAndre Hopkins.
The Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
Signing with the Tennessee Titans on a 2-year deal.
Well, it's definitely not a surprise. This is something that had been expected.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
Still someone who, against one-on-one coverage, he's going to eat.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Drive. Hey, guys, it's Q, Murr, and Sal from Impractical Jokers, and we are excited to announce our brand new Drive tour.
True TV and Practical Jokers, the Drive Tour, starring Q, Murr, and Sal. July 27th, the Opry House.
This is going to drive me insane.
Tickets on sale now at Opry.com. 16 years of age or older suggested to attend. Produced by Outback Presents.
There are ordinary hotels, and there's the Four Seasons. There are ordinary cars, and there's the Rolls-Royce. There are ordinary handbags, and there's Gucci. There are ordinary engagement rings, and there's Genesis. A Genesis diamond ring is unlike any other. Artistic, innovative design, handcrafted precision, exceptional detail and quality. This is why people who work at other jewelers come to Genesis for their rings. A Genesis ring is considered the gold standard in bridal, with no compromises, no cut corners, nothing short of perfection. We have the look, the style every woman dreams about. At Genesis, you'll find dozens of exclusive world-class bridal designers who are revered for their attention to detail, exceptional vision, and superior craftsmanship. A Genesis ring rises to the occasion, reflecting her style, her unique personality, her confidence, her individuality. In a world filled with ordinary, for this moment, choose extraordinary. Choose Genesis. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who said he wanted to go to a team with a stable quarterback or a stable coaching staff, and he wanted to go to a team with a championship defense, and he chose the Titans. No, hey, look, you're laughing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're laughing. You're laughing. You're laughing.
I'm not the only one, by the way.
Let me put a little bit of respect on the Titans name, and I understand I've said that the wrong way, but
is that supposed to be inspirational?
Hold on a second. You could do a whole lot worse than Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry.
That's true.
That's not bad.
Yeah, you can also do a whole lot better.
I know. I understand that.
Fair, high register.
I understand that.
There you go. That was Rich Eisen and Rich Eisen's crew earlier this week. And TD, I have got a bone to pick. Not with you, but I've got to pick it, and I want your opinion on it. And that is the blatant disrespect that I feel like Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry are getting. And it starts with that great list that Jeremy Fowler compiles at ESPN.com throughout the course of the offseason, where he talks to league executives, coaches, and players. So it's not ESPN's list. It's not Jeremy Fowler's list. He's just the one that compiles the list. And with running backs, I knew Derrick was going to get snubbed. I didn't think he was going to be number 5 in the league, which I thought was ridiculous.
Very surprising.
Then the quarterback list came out. Mahomes 1, no problem there. Burrow 2, no problem there. There's another person that goes with Mahomes over Burrow. Allen 3, Rodgers 4, Herbert 5, Hurts 6, Lamar 7, Trevor Lawrence 8. Might be a little too high for me. Dak Prescott 9. Matthew Stafford 10. Okay. Then the honorable mentions. Deshaun Watson didn't play in 2021, barely played last year, and when he played, he stunk, but he's up there. Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Derek Carr, and we have well been over the stats about how Tannehill is a better quarterback than Derek Carr. Tua, honorable mention. Also receiving votes, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, and Geno Smith. Tannehill did not get one top 10 vote, but Kyler Murray and Justin Fields did.
Yeah, well, the Justin Fields one is off of potential. The Kyler Murray, I'm not exactly sure there. But then you look at Geno Smith. I mean, look, Geno Smith had an outstanding year, and I know it's Geno Smith, but he had an outstanding year.
Sure.
It just goes back to look, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill reminds me of I'm gonna borrow Deuce Staley's analogy when he talked about one of the Eagles receivers back in the day. He was like, it's like an old school Honda Accord in the hood. It's one of those cars that is always going to get you where you need to go. Always. Very rarely will it not be able to get you where it needs to go. You need to go, but it's just not the sexiest car. Mm-hmm. But it's absolutely serviceable, and it always does the job. And that's Ryan Tannehill, in my opinion. I would probably take him up a little bit from a Honda Accord to maybe, I'll give him like a nice Lincoln status, or you know what I mean, something like that. But you get the gist of what I'm saying.
I think the thing that bothers me on the Tannehill front is that while I don't think Ryan Tannehill is necessarily a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, I don't think that there's that much of a difference between him and Jared Goff and Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins and even Dak Prescott. I mean, if you give those guys great players, they all win, every one of them. I mean, we saw that when he had great players around him, Jared Goff in the Super Bowl. Jared Goff to the Lions, team wasn't very good at the beginning. All of a sudden, not very good. Then they start, Amon-Ra St. Brown comes alive, and Khalif Raymond turns into a decent player, and they get some good players. And now Jared Goff looks a lot better. And it's like they don't even consider Tannehill in that group, and I think that is completely disrespectful to Tannehill.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And the thing is, you watch the games, you know what I mean, and you see that he's a lot better than what the national media or just the general person is going to say. And I tell you this, you're right, to tie DeAndre Hopkins into this thing, and this is one of the stats just in digging that I found that really impressed me. And if you look at on play action passing, Tannehill is first in QBR, yards per attempt. We're talking about he's gaining almost 11 yards per attempt off of play action. That's first since he's started playing for the Titans, as the starter. But over that time, DeAndre Hopkins has 99 receptions on play action, which places him 8th. But here's the thing. Hopkins missed 16 games over that time period, and he's still 8th with 99. So I think we're about to see kind of a resurgence again for Ryan Tannehill in his offense, honestly.
And not only that, I mean, think about who was running the ball on the teams that DeAndre was on, and it wasn't Derrick Henry. And the way that teams have to account for Derrick Henry against play action, he's probably, over the last 5 years, he's probably been the best running back in play action in the league.
Yeah, no doubt. And Look, on Talking with TD this week, Chris Sanders and I, we got in pretty deep about this whole topic of the play action, and he talked about some of the things in when he played with Eddie George, how that helped him get open more than the other receivers. So definitely make sure you check that out. And I think that's, to your point, Derrick Henry just makes things different. And, on my way in, I heard you talking about the running backs. And, yeah, there's certain ones that are replaceable. There's certain ones that, you get similar production, et cetera. But I think when it comes down to guys like Derrick Henry, and I'll say it, guys like Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, these are players that should get that second contract because they impact the game differently from your typical running back. I feel firmly about that. They're playmakers at that position. You know what I mean? McCaffrey's in a different class because of the pass-catching part of it. But
Sure.
To your point with Derrick Henry, because of how defenses focus on the Titans, he deserves to get paid what he's getting paid because every single time at the beginning of the week, 22 is not going to beat us. We are not going to let 22 beat us. Next thing you know, 22 has 130 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns.
To that point, 5th for Derrick Henry is voted by the league's executives, coaches, and players.
Yeah.
That is disgraceful.
Yeah, I think Saquon was ahead of him if I'm not mistaken.
Chubb was 1. I
Chubb.
think McCaffrey was 2, Jacobs was 3, and Saquon was 4.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, the pass catching part of it, I think, and just in reading that, it seemed like they were down on the age. But look, man, it is Derrick Henry. Like, that's a different. We've said it over and over again. He's a Martian, man. Like, it's different.
I think Derrick Henry is the one running back over the last 5 years whose team wins games at a high level because of Derrick. Whereas I do think that the Giants win games because of Saquon Barkley, but they haven't won enough games over the years because of Saquon Barkley. And I think Todd Gurley is probably the last running back whose teams won games at a high level because of him. And people talk about how great Belichick was to hold the Rams to 13 points in the to 3 points in the Super Bowl, but that was without Todd Gurley, and that was when the knee really started to act up. And I think that that's something that Derrick doesn't get credit for, is how many games this team has won, not just over the last couple of years, but even last season, because they had Derrick Henry. And that's the one thing that I think gets lost, not only when it comes to ranking these running backs, because I would agree, on the surface, I've got a running back who's a great runner versus a running back who's a really good runner and a good pass catcher. I'd probably want to take that guy. But Derrick, to me, wins more games. And at the same time, last year the Titans had no offensive line and no threat of a passing game, and he still finished second in the league in rushing yards. And that's what I think doesn't get picked up enough on.
Yeah, no, exactly. It doesn't get picked up enough at all. And it's something that it's just, it doesn't fit the narrative, in my opinion, and I think that's why it's going to just continue to float under the radar.
TD's with us for the Power Hour. Of course, get your phones in at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Has it hit you yet, TD, that 1 week from today we will be talking about practice? We will be breaking down what we saw at training camp?
No, it's I'm excited, honestly. I was in L.A. over the weekend and up to yesterday, and I went to the facility, our studios there, and they're like, hey, you're getting your last little bit of downtime, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, man, listen, I can't wait. Like, I want to be out there. I miss, being in the mix and all of that. So it hasn't really sunken in that next week, we'll be fully going, but I'm definitely excited about it.
TD, coming up next, we'll get his pre-camp questions and concerns on the Titans going into camp and what he's excited to see next week going into camp. We'll do that next. Right here, 615-737-1025. Of course, we'll hit your questions at the end of the hour, as we always do. TD Power Hour, Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Touchdown, Tennessee!
All the big stories.
I fully expected DeAndre Hopkins wanting a one-year deal.
All in one place. We are are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Touchdown, Tennessee.
You're going to make a trade like this.
Does he want to retire a Tennessee Titan?
The doors on the board. Such superstar players. The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car. We buy any car. We buy any car. Any.
Did you know trading in your car at a dealer could cost you money? Research shows consumers who trade in their car pay an average of $990 more. So don't trade in, sell it to We Buy Any Car. Get your free online valuation now at
WeBuyAnyCar.
Research published in the Journal of Industrial Economics December 2015 showed buyers with a trade-in pay an average of $990 more than those who do not trade in their used cars.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All summer items have to go. $2,900 pools, only $19.99 installed.
What about the spas?
A $4,000 spa is on sale at $29.99. Save even more on scratch intensive floor models.
Patio furniture's on sale too?
All Family Leisure summer furniture is 50% off or more. Huge discounts on display models and discontinued items.
Grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All the summer inventory is on sale.
Family Leisure's summer clearance sale. Franklin and Antioch.
Family and fun come together.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, I'm Gary Smith, head coach of Nashville SC. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
A lot of noise saying that the Titans are in a rebuild year.
I don't ever think that in this league. I don't. I'm never going to believe that. I think that our guys will prepare, our guys will fight, I think we got a chance to beat anybody.
How do you feel like this roster is different this year than has been,
Well, I mean, we had to move on from veterans. I mean, you get to a point where that's what happens in this league. Whether it's me getting traded to Kansas City, going into my 13th year, or having to move on from some players or making decisions. I mean, that's how this thing goes, and everybody's aware of it. So I think that's the first thing. You know what I mean? We've got some veteran players that I've been with for, the 5 years that I've been here that we had to move on from, and other players as well. So I think that's probably the biggest, will be the biggest difference. But there's always change every year.
That was Vrabel on Bussin' with the Boys. When they were talking about not the Titans, Vrabel was great. Then they started talking about the Titans. I don't know if you listened to that full interview, TD, on Bussin' with the Boys.
I did earlier.
Yeah. As soon as they started asking about football stuff, it was like, well, yeah, we have to do what we, need to do. It was like a press conference. It was, Vrabel. Anyway, camp is less than a week away. First practice 6 days from now on Wednesday. TD, let's start with concerns, questions, or what you're excited to see. Pick which one of those three, and let's start there.
We could start with questions.
What are your questions going into camp?
So question is going to be, how are they going to reshuffle the offensive line? That's the big one. The question also is going to be, where will Malik Willis pick up from? Will he hit the ground running based off of what he did in OTAs and minicamp? That's something to watch. Christian Fulton, will he be on the field immediately, and will the things that he did in Miami show early? That's something, because from what I understand, there is definitely cause for optimism as far as, how he was able to improve over the summer. So that's something. Those are the big ones. Also, another question is, what's going on at safety behind Byard and Hooker? Is it going to continue to be Elijah Molden? Are we going to see Shyheim Carter? Who is going to end up emerging as that safety if they don't sign somebody? That's something. They got some young guys, too, I think, that could come in. So those are some of my questions.
Okay, let's start with the offensive line. I think they're going to sign George Fant.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to – and what's hard about the line in camp is that, they don't wear pads for a little bit, and then they only get so many padded practices. Now they get the 2 joint practice sessions with Minnesota and New England, which would be good for that. And then I assume that the starting offensive line will play in the preseason games, which will give them more reps. What do you kind of expect to see on the offensive line?
Yeah, well, it's actually good that they don't get in pads a lot, at least as far as some of the new guys, or even like just speak on George Fant's part, because that gives him a moment to get in, not have to worry about the contact, but get the steps and the just the scheme itself, get that down. So that's a good thing. But it's just going to have to continue to be something that they work on, and the communication and all of that stuff. I'm not too concerned about them not being in pads, because there's so many other things that they could work on, that when they're in those pads for those brief moments, then that's something that they could just continue to perfect.
You thinking it's going to be Dillard, Skoronski, Brewer, Brunskill, and Fant?
I think that's eventually what it's going to be. I'm not so sure that they just right off the bat bring Fant in and plop him right down as the starter. I don't know that they do that. I think it may be something that he'll work into, but that's likely what the finishing product is going to be.
Okay, let's go to the questions, the concerns that you may have going into camp next week.
Yeah, I mean, look, the concern is definitely the offensive line, right? How are they going to start? How is it going to continue to develop into a unit, that could go at least the first 6 games? So that's something. Another concern, it's not really a concern. It's I guess you could use curiosity. How will Will Levis develop? Will he start to throw with more touch and anticipation? Not as much anticipation, but touch, rather than lightning bolts all the time. That's the next part of it. But yeah, those are the major ones. I think, concerns, obviously you always have the injury perspective. You just hope no one gets hurt or anything like that. Soft tissue, dehydration, whatever. You hope that doesn't happen, because you want to see the guys out there and get to, fully report.
Oh, TD, you missed a layup on the concerns. Kicker!
It's a – look, these two guys couldn't be too further from the opposites. Like, you got one who looks like, you had the cheat code on the old Madden and you make the players smaller, and Caleb Shudak. But he has a big boot, man. And then you got Trey Wolf, who's 6'3", 225 pounds. I don't put that as a concern, honestly. That's more or less a curiosity for me also, because these guys are going to kick it out, and you're going to see one emerge. One of them's going to have to emerge.
Or they're going to go pluck somebody like they've done the last couple of years, which I think they want to get out of the habit of.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know how I feel about special teams around here. What are you excited to see this training camp?
Listen, I can't wait to see one-on-ones, right? Especially with DeAndre Hopkins being in the mix. Him going against these DBs, that's going to be fun to watch. Traylon Burks as well, obviously and then Kyle. So I'm excited about seeing the receiver core. I'll say that. I'm really excited about Will Levis. I want to see just him progress as a player. I want to see that moment where you're like, yeah, that's why he was selected that high. We didn't get that in OTAs or mini camp, so you're definitely looking for that. I'm excited about seeing the D-line too, man. I can't wait to see how they move Arden Key around and get him in tandems with, Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons and all of that. That's going to be fun to watch. Tierre Tart. So I'm excited about that part. And, another underrated part that I'm excited about is Azeez Al-Shire. And he's fun to watch. If you go back and watch his film, it does remind you of, David Long and just the style in which he plays. So I'm excited to see that as well.
I'd be careful, giving somebody the TD David Long brand.
Yeah, I just say, the similarity because, David Long
has a special place in your heart.
Yeah, he remains one of those guys. It's just like I would watch separately just to get my 51 part of it in because it's fun to watch, some of the things that he would do, the way he would, at 200 and nothing pounds run through an offensive lineman or just weave around him like a car in traffic. He's fun to watch.
I wonder how much DeAndre Hopkins is going to practice because that was always something people brought up. I do think it's not a coincidence that he signed before training camp. I do expect him early on to be active in practice, and then I expect Vrabel to treat him like he's treated the vested veterans over the years. Derrick Henry got treated a certain way. A.J. Brown got treated a certain way. Ben Jones, Roger Saffold. That's how I expect them to treat DeAndre, but I do think early on, are we expecting DeAndre to practice a lot?
I would imagine he's going to practice because, look, you have to get the timing down with the quarterback. And a lot of the things, and that's the difference, a lot of the things that DeAndre Hopkins does is based off of timing. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be important to get that right. And I think that comes primarily through practice. So I would imagine.
Do you think it's good that I sensed at OTAs this year that Tannehill is locked in from a chemistry standpoint with Burks and Okonkwo? It felt like at the end of training camp last year, he was pretty locked in with Kyle Phillips before Phillips started suffering the injuries, that if we were just looking at the roster as a whole to say, okay, I feel comfortable about Tannehill's trust and chemistry with Burks, Okonkwo, Phillips, Westbrook-Akina, Henry, and that would really allow him to really focus in the time on getting on the same page with DeAndre Hopkins and Tajay Spears.
Yeah, I don't think it's really a matter of focusing on getting time with those guys. I think it's really in practice everything, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the timing just with that particular player. I think just as an offense as a whole, that's why you want him to practice more, and that's why you want that group together because then you get used to the way the picture looks. And that helps when you're working through progressions and different things like that. You have an understanding, okay, I got this concept over here. Usually by the time so-and-so is here, the other person is there. Okay, boom. You know what I mean? So I think as a group, just from a macro level, it's going to be good to practice.
Let's hit your phones for TD next. 615-737-1025. The final pre-training camp edition of the TD Power Hour. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This fall,
Andy, 24-21, your final.
The Game.
All by himself for a one-hand flush.
Gets bigger.
The doors on the board.
Your new home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. Football, men's basketball, baseball, and women's basketball all live here. Your home for Vanderbilt Athletics is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
We buy any car.
Why sell your car at WeBuyAnyCar.com? Because selling it yourself can be, well,
Okay, I'll give you half now.
And?
No, and just half.
What?
Avoid the hassle. Come to We Buy Any Car instead. Get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price.
Yeah, I can't do half. I could probably bump it up to like 50%.
Just go.
Okay.
Get your free online valuation now at
WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official brand perception report for doors and windows is in. Pella Windows and Doors are the leading brand among all others. A few reasons why. Pella is regarded as the highest quality, the most innovative, and the installers with Pella of Nashville lead the way for attention to detail. That's why Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is one of Pella's top locations in the country. For new doors or windows, I suggest you choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaNashville.com.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. Introducing 24/7 Lifeguard Protection, only from SimpliSafe Home Security. Now, monitoring agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplisafe.com/radio. Advanced home security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
The Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut.
Strong-willed opinions.
There's hot takes and then there's like weird takes. Yeah. This is a weird take.
And sometimes some old man takes.
I'm excited about it. So do I gyrate embarrassingly?
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, TD Power Hour, the final segment of the TD Power Hour before training camp starts next Wednesday. It really starts on Tuesday. Practice is on Wednesday, and who knows what's going to happen on Monday between DeAndre Hopkins and George Fant. I mean, we may have 2 press conferences on Monday and a press conference on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we got practice. So let's get right to it, TD, unless you have a thought.
No, let's get to it.
Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, TD, do you think it would be a good thing if Malik Willis ends up performing better than Will Levis in the preseason and secures the backup position?
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing. And that's something that I wouldn't be mad if it happened, because that means that they would be incentivized to keep him as a third quarterback, and you got to look into the future, right? And obviously it's more than likely going to be Levis that's going to be the quarterback of the future, but still you could keep Willis around as a guy who could be your backup. But then that also gives Levis an opportunity to kind of sit and learn. And I'm of the school that the best way to learn is by playing. But, look, if you can't play right away, there's nothing wrong with sitting and learning. We've seen it with a lot of guys. Aaron Rodgers flashed across the screen. That's a good example. So I would feel just fine if I was a fan and saw that.
I want to get your thought on the Levis opinion I have, which is we talk about a quarterback sitting on the bench and learning, and I certainly think that couldn't hurt. But after a lot of the talking that I did with people at SEC Media Days about Levis at Kentucky, I almost wonder if another benefit of him sitting is going to be so they can really nail down the mechanics with Charles London and maybe allow him to layer the football better, but also to probably help his accuracy and confidence in making decisions with better footwork.
Yeah, I mean, it gives well, look, once training camp is over, you don't really have time to be focusing on technique and all that stuff. That ground is basically set during the preseason and training camp. So I think really it would be a matter of continuing what he has learned and being able to use that when it's semi-live in practice, right? So he'll have to make sure that he could still – stick to his training, so to speak, his technique and skill that's taught to him during, the developmental process.
Texter says, TD, should we be worried about Peter Skoronski? The more that comes out about the Northwestern football scandal, it seems more like it was player-led than it was coach-led, and it seems to center around the offensive line and subsequent lawsuits that seem to be coming out around the offensive line at Northwestern.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about Peter Skoronski. I think he's about as solid as they come. When you talk to a player, a rookie, and how well put together he is, I wouldn't be concerned at all. Obviously, the things that happen there at Northwestern are inexcusable and disgusting, and every negative adjective you want to put on that. But I wouldn't be concerned about him individually.
Texter says, TD, who would you take straight up to start week 1 between Nicholas Petit-Ferrer right now and George Fant?
Good question. Healthy George Fant, probably. That's probably where I would go. I would imagine you would go that way too, because I know you're not a big fan of Petit-Ferrer's game last year. So, I would probably say Fant. It's just a healthy George Fant, and just had to make sure he could flip to the other side easily.
So I guess I probably would go with Fant, but I don't really know much about him. So it's hard for me to have like a huge, bona fide opinion on it about whether I would take him over Petit-Ferrer. I think the thing that's tough for me is that I just don't think linemen get to play enough football. And the only way I believe that a person can get in football shape is to play football. And if Petit-Ferrer doesn't play for the first 6 weeks, it's going to be hard for him to get caught up. But I also know that when he does come back 6 weeks from now, who knows what the state of the offensive line could be, or the injuries or everything else, and they could be begging for his return to the offense.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's not going to be able to be in the building or anything. You know what I mean? So you can't even go through practice and get the practice conditioning. So that is going to be tough for him. He's definitely behind the 8 ball, without a doubt.
Texter says, TD, how would you handicap the backup quarterback race right now?
I'd probably say 50-50. I think it could go either direction, and I don't think the Titans would be upset with either direction that it goes. End of the day, Tannehill's the starter, and if Levis wins the backup job, okay, that's fine. Keep Willis as your number 3, or vice versa. I don't think that they would be upset either way, to be honest with you.
Question says, TD, how is DeAndre Hopkins signing different than the addition of Julio Jones, given their age and their history?
We get this. This is a question I've gotten a lot of. And so I'll say this, right? So Randy Moss, Andre Johnson, these guys were beyond their Eric Moulds, Carl Pickens. Well, Carl Pickens, that's its own separate. There were a lot of things that went wrong for what I've been told. But those 3 in particular, they were on the hind part of their career. So, yeah, it's going to, it was a swing and a miss. Julio Jones, I think you look at Julio Jones, and he's a guy that won so much off of attributes, right? So, obviously, that's going to, as time goes on, it's going to wear down. And he lost a lot of the very things that made him one of the greatest. Now, I think when you look at Hopkins, his game is based on, he's a savvy player. He never was really fast. He never was really big. He never was really explosive. One thing he has always been is strong, but he has gotten by just off of savvy, crafty route running, knowing how to stack a DB well. Even just from the start, the release point. I mean, we talk about Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams and how they are the best guys at getting open, right off the line of scrimmage. Hopkins is pretty good at that too. So you have that, and then on top of that, just the understanding positioning and leverage and just how to win on those what Mike Vrabel calls combat catches, or we call them contested catches. Knowing how to win in that aspect, I think that's a game that will carry through past 31 years old, and that's why I think that he'll still be good, because the things that he does best are not the things that you lose over time.
Texter asked the question, says, TD, without asking you to make a prediction, do you think that this is the year that Treylon Burks becomes a star, or that Treylon Burks will eventually become a star?
I think he eventually becomes a star, and I think this year is a big year for it. It's just a matter of playing more consistently, and that's something that Tim Kelly said at the Combine when I asked him about Burks. You have to find a way to get him the football, but also to make him a consistent player. And I think the way that he came into minicamp and OTAs with that air of confidence and that just swagger with him, I think that is a good sign that he's on his way.
Derek Mason, the Vandy coach, the old Vandy coach, was on the show yesterday, and we were talking about, the difference between Burks and A.J. and things like that. And he talked about how A.J. Brown was like a running back playing wide receiver.
Yes.
And I was thinking about Chig Okonkwo, and when it comes to breaking out and being a star. And I think just by playing Chig Okonkwo more, because he's going to be on the field more often this year than he was last year, the fact that he's got a year under his belt, a year in the strength training program under his belt, a year with Tannehill under his belt, he knows now what the expectations are of him. And I think that with DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry and Treylon Burks all adding something different to make a defense worry, I think that when we talk about breaking out as a star, I think this might be the year for Chig.
Yeah, I fully agree. And honestly, I felt last year, and it's funny because they would always say, who's a sleeper, all these different shows. Hey, listen, man, they got a tight end by the name of Chigozium, a.k.a. Chig Okonkwo. And if you go back and watch him in Maryland, very explosive. I think he's a guy. So, yeah, this year for sure, I'm with you on that. And it goes back to, like you said, being a running back as a pass catcher, right? Able to convert to that quickly. Look at that Chiefs game. He caught that pass, right? And the guys tried to tackle him. He broke it, and he had the speed after that power to break that tackle. He had the speed to run away from him. Now, they caught him, but, that's an example, and those are free yards, right? You could just throw him a short pass, and he's going to make it a big one.
TD, as always, great stuff. Next week, we do it for real in the TD Power Hour.
You know it. Can't wait.
TD, as always, been on top of the DeAndre Hopkins story, as well as anybody, Teron Davenport on the program. So coming up next, we're done with SEC Media Days, but there was a lot of chatter that I heard and a lot of off-the-record kind of stuff that I heard. And it was so odd to me, and it was a little disheartening as a Titan fan. I'll explain. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106 for the game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone. Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. With 35 miles of sugar white sands and emerald green Gulf waters, it's no wonder why. Let's unwind under the sun on Clearwater Beach, ranked #1 beach in the South by USA Today readers. And then liven up the night at the Sound, a new outdoor waterfront concert venue featuring performances this summer by Peter Frampton, the Goo Goo Dolls, and more. Let's shine. Plan your getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
There's nobody on the planet who's as picky when it comes to diamonds as Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
I'm very, very selective on the diamond that I pick.
Indeed, Boaz will look at 2,000 diamonds on the world market and find maybe 2 or 3 that meet his criteria.
What most people don't know, and even jewelers, a diamond has much more than the 4 C's. He has maybe 20 C's.
Like the diamond's luster grade or brilliance level, its feathering, its inclusions, its table, its polish, its symmetry, even the diamond's own DNA or X-ray report, which most jewelers don't even know about.
I refuse to sell diamonds that don't go through our very, very strict criteria.
Which means a Genesis diamond is one she can be proud to wear, with the most sparkle and brilliance and real intrinsic value.
This is my goal, to go all over the world and find only the best hand-selected diamond.
Genesis Diamonds, setting the highest quality standards in the jewelry business. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It's back to school time! Check out the Stars Nashville Thrives tent at the Back to School event in Madison on Saturday, July 29th from 3 to 6 at the El Patron Event Center at 709A Rivergate Parkway in Goodlettsville. And in Nashville on Sunday, July 30th from 12 to 3 at Coleman Park, 384 Thompson Lane. There will be school supplies on a first-come basis. Bring your unused medications and safely dispose of them in the drug take-back box. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. SEC Football Media Days wraps up today with Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer, and Vols head coach Josh Heupel all speaking at the podium. After a nice season last year, Vols head coach Josh Heupel talked about trying to build on that for this season.
Standard at Tennessee is to win championships. It's pretty clear. I think we're top 10 in the history of college football in wins, first-round draft picks. Bowls, bowl wins. The standard is to compete at the highest level and win championships. For us, that starts in the Eastern Division, which everybody knows that there's a lot of good football that's played in that division.
The Vols got some good news on the recruiting trail last night as 5-star wide receiver Mike Matthews committed to Tennessee. The Detroit Lions have placed rookie quarterback Hendon Hooker on the reserve non-football injury list to begin training camp. Vikings rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison was cited for driving 140 miles per hour. And the Nashville Sounds return to action at First Horizon Park tonight as they host Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Pre-game coverage with Jeff Hem starts at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And the score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board. Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. SEC Media Days is over for us, as we were there the last 3 days. I wonder, how many people are still out on Radio Row. I'm sure there's probably not a lot. I think on the Feinbaum show, they always try to find the last writer who's there at SEC Media Days is always something that they talk about or whatever. But the only positive that I have from SEC Media Days is that it is fun. Like the socializing around SEC Media Days, it's fun. especially when Kentucky's there, because I get to see the people who cover the program that I haven't seen in a while, or the people that do the national stuff that I know from, way back, or, the serious people that are in town that I get to spend time with. Just people I get to see, I get to do the socializing. I think that's what Caroline really loves about SEC Media Days. I don't know how much she really loves the idea, and she might. The idea of some coach getting up there. Give me that Josh Heupel cut about Joe Milton we played earlier today, where Josh Heupel is asked this incredibly long-winded question about Joe Milton that's basically just how does Joe Milton compare to Hendon Hooker, and then gives an incredibly long-winded answer that says nothing other than, hey, he's doing a good job so far.
With Hendon Hooker, you had a transfer that came in, had some success at the quarterback position. Now you've got Joe at quarterback, who's a transfer himself. And I know you saw that growth with Hendon. Talk a little bit about what it's been like for you to watch the growth from Joe.
Yeah, I think, one of the great stories in college football in the era of the transfer portal is, his trust and ability to recognize areas that he can continue to grow in and trust the people around him, that we have his best interests at heart, understand that within our scheme he's going to have an opportunity to do everything that he wants to, which is be one of the best players inside of college football.
I got to tell you, I can only think it's a lot. So I don't think that's the stuff that we love. But the socializing is important. And while doing a lot of socializing, both the last couple of days and especially last night, I talked to a lot of people that I've known for a long time, some people that I haven't known all that long, but I did a lot of talking about Will Levis. And it's funny, we'll have people on the air, we'll have people on the record. I talked to Mark Stoops yesterday about Will Levis, and it's all positive. Greg McElroy came on the show on Monday and said where the Titans picked Will Levis, the value is outstanding. But word on the street, when I asked people about Will Levis, I'm not sure I heard anything positive that wasn't on the record in an interview setting. I basically asked everybody that I knew. I said, hey, what do you think about Levis? Thumbs up, thumbs down? What do you think he'll be the future of the Titans? And I can't tell you how many thumbs down I got when it came to Levis. I was told by one prominent SEC analyst that Levis, quote, doesn't have the maturity that it takes to be a great NFL quarterback. I also had somebody tell me that he's too insecure. And the vibe I got from the people that covered Kentucky was, I like Levis. I think he's a great kid. I'm rooting for Levis. But no, I don't think he's going to be a franchise quarterback. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Now, I'm having a hard time understanding how it is with Levis that everybody says everything good about him when they're in public, but then behind the scenes, off the record, we're just talking. As I would say to somebody, between us girls. And it was a lot of no on Will Levis. Somebody told me, dude, just the interceptions were just so bad. I had one guy told me mentally he's just not there. And I don't know why. I was kind of expecting a different outcome. I guess I was expecting people to tell me, yeah, he'll need to work hard, but I think he'll work hard. And I was also expecting from the people who covered Kentucky, and not that Kentucky has an overly homer media, though they can be homers sometimes. I think I was expecting from the people who cover Kentucky more regularly and see the games and everything else to say, hey, man, that Kentucky team was freaking terrible. That Kentucky team was awful. And that would have been a 3-win football team if it wasn't for Will Levis last year. And so Will's a great kid. Will works really hard. I think that if he's given a chance, I think he'll succeed. And I didn't hear any of that. If you were to ask me about Ryan Tannehill. Now, one of the things I like about my position is, I don't know if you guys have caught on to this, I'm not really worried about people being mad at me. I kind of think it's been grandfathered in that, Jared's going to say whatever he says. And so people, they've gotten over the idea of being mad. And so it really is a lot of fun because I get just to have honest thoughts all the time. and not have to worry about, well, this guy's going to be mad at me if I say this. He's going to not like me, and I don't worry about any of that. But if somebody who didn't cover the Titans, if the Titans traded Ryan Tannehill to the Jets when that was being discussed as a thing, and they were to ask me, what do you think about Tannehill? I would say, I think Tannehill's good. I just don't think he's an elite quarterback. So when your team gets put into a game with an elite quarterback, there's going to be a lot on Tannehill's shoulders. And if everybody else doesn't carry him against that elite quarterback, a la what happened in that Rams game a couple years ago on Sunday Night Football, then Tannehill's probably going to lose. But as far as efficiency and knowing what to do out there and being a quarterback, Tannehill's fine. Tannehill's fine, and you can do a whole hell of a lot worse than Tannehill. I take Tannehill over Kyler Murray. I take Tannehill over Derek Carr. I would take Tannehill over, some of these other Scarbinis out there. But, is he Aaron Rodgers? No. And I think that is an overly positive take about Tannehill compared to what most people say. When it came to Levis, I didn't get any of that. Now, again, like I said, I watched the tape when it came to Levis, and so I liked Levis's tape. And I was expecting that the SEC people that cover this way more than I do, the game analysts, I figured I'd get some thumbs ups. I think I'd get some, hey, man, that arm talent is amazing. And I didn't get any of that. Now, what would have been fair is if I had done the same thing with Anthony Richardson. But because the Titans didn't take Anthony Richardson, I'm not sure I care about Anthony Richardson as much. So I do wonder, do the SEC people and the people that cover Kentucky and the people that cover, do they look at Levis the same way that a lot of people, like would the Florida people look at Richardson the same way the Kentucky people looked at Levis and just say, oh, yeah, he wasn't good enough last year, even though he was 21 years old, even though, the context of what happened. And I can't give you the answer because I didn't ask. But I was just a little surprised about how many people were down on Will Levis. And he's too insecure. Somebody told me that he's got, and I think the question from that element, both physically with his mechanics and emotionally with the insecurity or whatever it is, because it doesn't sound like he's a bad kid. And it doesn't sound like he doesn't work hard. It sounds like he puts in the work. It sounds like he cares. It sounds like he wants to. The question is, can he grow? Can he grow emotionally so that he doesn't care what somebody on Twitter says or somebody on Instagram says or something like that? If he doesn't use the negativity to fuel him and he gets caught up in trying to, can he move on from that? And the mechanics, the bad throws, the interceptions, can he grow with those? And I think that's kind of the part on Vrabel. That is, if you take this guy, Mike, which they did, can you get that out of him? But I was surprised that just when I just did some talking behind the scenes, just in basic socializing at SEC Media Days with people who are more invested in SEC football than I am. And I just got so many thumbs downs on Will Levis as a potential franchise quarterback. 615-737-1025. Let's get to some of your phones on this. 615-737-1025. And the one odd thing about Will Levis and the way people talk about him and what I've heard on Will Levis, we'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 615-737-1025. Right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hopkins, touchdown. The Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
They needed somebody that they could count on.
Even with DeAndre Hopkins in the receiver room, they're not very deep.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
It alleviates pressure from Treylon Burks, forces defenses to pay attention.
He and Mike Vrabel have a very good relationship. The receiving group has a chance to actually be pretty good.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher versus Hasim Rahman Jr., and many, many more. Misfits 008 tickets are available now, starting at $20 from Ticketmaster.com.
Hey guys, this is Mike at Newton Ford in Shelbyville. Did you hear the news that we were awarded as a 2023 Dealer of the Year out of all 4 dealerships in Tennessee by Dealer Rater, where real people write real reviews about their car dealership experiences? Yep. That means we got the most 5-star reviews from customers like you over the past year out of all the 4 dealerships you could choose in Tennessee. We're proud of our reputation, but you've got to check it out for yourself. So if you want a smooth purchase of a brand new Ford or pre-owned new-to-you vehicle, we're here to help make that happen. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the lot. Start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. Come see us in Shelbyville, just a short drive from Murfreesboro, to see how we can smooth out the car shopping experience for you.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at EdwinWattsGolfShops.com.
For more than 100 years, Lincoln Tech's NADC in Nashville has helped people transform their lives by learning the skills they need to build a brighter future. While the skills, tools, and jobs have changed, one thing hasn't: Lincoln's ability to adapt their auto, diesel, and heavy equipment maintenance programs to meet the hiring needs of America's employers. Put your potential to work and enroll now for July classes at Lincoln Tech's NADC. Visit lincolntech.edu for info and to schedule a campus tour.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You've been around a lot of great quarterbacks and different programs and stuff in your life. What does he bring that maybe makes you feel like he can meet that potential in the NFL?
Well, the first thing that he has, I mean, everybody's going to expect me to talk about the enormous talent that he has, but really it's the work ethic that he has. And at that level, I know everybody says that, right? I mean, every single person, every single quarterback is going to say that. I can promise you, from what I've seen, that he's going to work. And I know how hard it is to be successful at that position in the NFL. I also think it's very important to have the right system and the right people around him to help that quarterback be successful. But I know he will work, extremely hard. And I mean, he'll be relentless. I mean, it's not about being a starter. It's not about money. It's about winning and performing for his players. And I think that's the biggest thing with him is he is ultra competitive. And again, that's redundant, right? Everybody says that, but I saw it. I saw the way he worked. And then if you work like that, then let the talent go to work.
There you go. That was Mark Stoops yesterday at SEC Media Days. Well, I tell you, Coach Stoops looks like he's getting kind of skinny, by the way, but not at all in the face. Face looks the exact same. Body looks like it's getting a little skinnier, but face the exact same. But he's all in on Will Levis. And then even I think he was asked a Levis question at the podium yesterday, and he doubled down on his belief in Levis and the Titans and everything else. We talked to all these people off the record, just kind of behind the scenes about Will Levis. And it's all a bunch of thumbs down. A buddy of mine texted me, and he goes, Levis is a bad quarterback. He's like the Kentucky version of Tim Tebow. Then my buddy followed it up with, which people at SEC Media Days said he sucks? I was like, okay, now I know why you're sitting today. You want to know who it is. I can just tell you, everyone I talked to. And it would just be basic. It'd be, shooting the breeze. Hey, Levis with the Titans. You believe it or not? No. It's like, wow. This is so different. From kind of really everything else. And really different from what I expected. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, 615-737-1025. Matt is up next and has been waiting patiently on Will Levis. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Jared. I was just curious, kind of like what the first 6 games of the season, they're the most important, I feel like, depending on to see how the season goes. Say we do go worst case scenario and get off to a bad start, and they look to make a change. Like, I feel like drafting Will Levis in the second round kind of makes it look like you're going to go with him as, like, the second option. But, like, what if, like, Malik Willis doesn't make big strides? It kind of creates that controversy. Like, how do you think they'll kind of play that out?
So you're saying that what if Malik plays well and that there's a controversy at the quarterback position?
Not necessarily plays well, like, in, like, the regular season, but, like, has a really good camp and, like, really shows strides of, like, making forward. Because obviously based off what we saw last year, it's like you'd rather see what you got out of Will Levis before you just put that back on the field. But in case, he does make strides.
So, I think, and I appreciate your call, I think Malik Willis can win the backup job. And if Malik Willis wins the backup job, then it will be because Malik Willis won it. Right? I think that the default is Levis. I think the most likely outcome is Levis. I think when all is said and done, the better quarterback, and this is just a prediction from me, but I think when all is said and done, the better quarterback is going to be Levis. But that's just my gut. But if Malik Willis outplays Will Levis at training camp, then Malik Willis should be the backup. But the one thing I keep harping on, Bill Polian said it, and I agree with it, that Tony Dungy and Marv Levy, they had rules when he was general manager and they were the coaches, that nobody gets evaluated fairly until the first preseason game. And that's how I feel about Levis, and we will continue to update you starting Wednesday, every day at training camp. We will talk about what we see out of Levis, what we like, what we didn't like, because I know that's going to be a big topic, just like we'll talk about everything else that happens at training camp. But I'm not going to put a stamp on Levis one way or another until at least the first preseason game. But if there is a battle between Levis and Willis, Willis is going to have to very clearly win it, or else it's going to go to Levis. Because Levis is the future at quarterback. At least that's the way they should approach it. Texter says, Will Levis is a pretty boy mama's boy, Jared. He has never earned anything. It's got to be given to him. I feel like he earned the position at Kentucky. I feel like he earned the success that they had there. He went to Penn State, and they wanted him to basically run the ball the whole time, and he transferred to Kentucky. And I thought that 2021 season he was really good. The 2022 season, here's the thing that's crazy about how I look at football, and maybe because I'm a details guy. I care about details. There was a throw in the Georgia game that really bothered me from Will Levis. And it was right before the half. I think it was a 1-score game. Maybe it was a 2-score game. It was Kentucky and Georgia. And Kentucky had the ball with about 2.5 minutes left. And they were probably at their own 35, 30-yard line, somewhere around there. And Will Levis on third down, it's third and short, and he rolls out, and he's got the running back open in the flat, And if he just drops the ball off, he's going to pick up a first down. Now, Kentucky's probably not going to score on that Georgia defense, but they don't need to score. They just need to get the first down to get to the locker room in a one-score game. I think it was a one-score game at the time. Levis overthrows the running back. It's incomplete. Clock stops. Kentucky punts. Georgia drives down the field and scores. That tiny little toss, that's the stuff that gets right up my keister about that costs you a game in the NFL. That's what I look at. Texter says, we've been trying to tell you this, Jared, but we're just fans and not radio hosts, so what do we know? I feel like the thing that I've really heard, though, from the Titan fans is just, Will Levis sucks because Kentucky didn't win. And there's nothing more, like there's nothing deeper than that. Just like every time that we talk about Anthony Richardson, somebody will say to me, and I'll say, I talked to a lot of people, I was like, I think Richardson is going to be freaking good in the NFL. And I said that. And people are like, I don't know. I mean, Florida, they weren't very good. They didn't this, they didn't. And I'm like, right. And John Elway was 5-6 at Stanford. So we can play that game. I mean, I told you about the Vanderbilt game last year where Richardson threw the ball all over the yard and they lost by a touchdown because the guy from Florida tried to field a punt in the end zone. He dropped it and a Vandy guy jumped on it for a touchdown. Now, here's the difference with Levis and Richardson. Richardson went 4th overall. Levis, and again, when it comes to Will Levis, we hear like all these things about Will Levis. Oh, Will Levis can do this, and Will Levis is this good, and Will Levis should be that good, and Mel Kiper Jr. is comparing him to Troy Aikman and Matthew Stafford, and the league waited until the second round to draft him. Chris says, do you think everybody that you talked to would have said all these things after the previous season when he had his breakout year? I don't know, Chris. You'd have to talk to them. Texter says, I think people need to remember that college ball is different from pro ball. Granted, pro ball can be very different, but college ball is different and can be very difficult. Sometimes a quarterback stinks in college but shines in the NFL, and sometimes a player shines in college and stinks in the NFL, like Ryan Leaf. Not comparing Will Levis to either Ryan Leaf or Tom Brady, but it's all about time and how things work for an athlete, his scheme, how it fits their skill set. I think it's more so like how guys develop. I think it's more so, and I use Joe Burrow as the example. Nobody at Ohio State thought Joe Burrow was going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I don't care what Urban Meyer says now. Nobody thought that. When Joe Burrow transferred to LSU, nobody thought that Joe Burrow was going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Even after that first year in 2018, in which Joe Burrow was, I thought, very impressive. He looked like a general that just kind of willed LSU to some victories. But there's a big difference between field general that leads his team to some victories and number 1 draft choice. And then when he was 23 or whatever it was, that 2019 season, Joe Burrow developed into the star. I think the NFL ruins more quarterbacks than they make. I think a lot of times fan bases are too impatient. Owners are too impatient. GMs get fired. Coaches get fired. I look at the Jets, for instance. I think the Jets are a mess. Robert Saleh's the coach, and he has never won anything in the NFL. And so he's turned into this, he gets up at the podium and he criticizes the quarterback after the game. They played New England, and Zach Wilson played terribly. And after the game, Saleh, a defensive guy, basically throws Wilson under the bus. I'm like, that is not the sign of an experienced head coach. Vrabel would not throw anybody under the bus like that. And Vrabel, he can get as mad as anybody. And so now Saleh gets Aaron Rodgers. So now Robert Saleh, insecure, on the hot seat, big personality, defensive coach, has the biggest egomaniac a-hole at quarterback. And how does he respond? By capitulating to him and kicking out the HBO cameras. That doesn't play well when things go wrong. And so I look at that, I'm like, this has the potential to be a disaster. When I look at the Titans, and I see that the Titans have a young receiver, they have a young tight end, they've got a young running back they just drafted, they got a young offensive lineman they took with the 11th pick, I think they may actually build something nice around Levis. They got a quarterback coach in Charles London who's incredibly respected, and I think they've got to work on Levis's mechanics. And that might actually be a positive. But I don't look at what happened at Kentucky last year and necessarily say, okay, well, he sucks. You know, somebody else asked the question, the segment about, okay, what would they have said after his breakout year? I wonder what they would have said about Dan Marino. Now, these people that cover Kentucky, some of them probably weren't even alive when Dan Marino was at Pittsburgh. But I wonder, are the people who are out on Levis as a franchise quarterback, are those people, were they out too? Were they out on Marino? Would they have been out on Marino after a down year at Pittsburgh? But it is odd to me that when it comes to Levis, man, I tell you, I just do not feel positivity at all outside of what Mark Stoops told me. And Mark Stoops, I mean, I've known Mark Stoops for 10 years. I mean, he looked at me when he was talking about Levis yesterday, and I mean, he believed it. So at least I take a little bit from that, but at the same time, for sure, the fact that nobody else would sit there and give me 2 thumbs up about Levis, that I think was a little bit of an issue. 615-737-1025. We're back to your phones on this, 615-737-1025. Had a call with my coach at PhD Weight Loss. Again, I'm loving the PhD Weight Loss program. I love it because it is simple for me and because I feel in control. And, I mean, I'm already down. I have just bust through the 20-pound plateau. I am now really, really excited just about kind of watching where it goes from here. But again, it's simple for me because they provide 85% of the food. They give you good coaching. And I think they do a great job of explaining to me what the expectations are and how difficult or easy the program can be. And so I love it. I love the control that I have. I love the fact that I'll be working out and I see veins that I didn't see before or haven't seen in a while. It's great. I love PhD Weight Loss. You can go online, myphdweightloss.com, and you can check out the program for yourself. There are a lot of people who have had a lot of success with it, especially a lot of people around here who have had a lot of success with it. It's not a workout program. It's not pills. It's not injections. There aren't side effects. You know, it's a solid weight loss program with nutritional planning. I love it. That's myphdweightloss.com. And here's their guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight at the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's right. That's PhD Weight Loss. They got an offer guarantee. It's great. Get control. myphdweightloss.com.
Every day we are live and local. You need to give Ron Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's Family Leisure's huge summer clearance sale.
So what does that mean?
All our summer items have to go. Everything in stock is on sale at Family Leisure. Pools, spas, and outdoor furniture are all on sale.
Give me an example.
A $2,900 pool is now only $19.99 installed. Or a huge 24-foot by 52-inch pool is only $29.99 installed with an upgraded filter package.
Oh, wow, that's great. What about the spas?
Right now, take $1,000 off a $4,000 spa at $29.99 at Family Leisure. Save even more on scratch and dents and floor models.
So the patio furniture's on sale too?
All the Family Leisure summer furniture must go. 50% off or more with even bigger discounts on display models and discontinued items.
I'm guessing the grills and grill islands are also on sale.
All of the summer inventory is on sale. Even the Diamond Point Play Gym is down to $19.99.
Family Leisure summer clearance sale. Both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
Well, family and fun come together.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe, and we're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now when you use the promo code THEGAME, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 when you use the promo code THEGAME. Download the Superbook Sports app, enter the promo code THEGAME, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Gear up for back to school at Electronic Express. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699, or a Maytag front-load laundry pair just $699 each. Guaranteed lowest prices in every department at Electronic Express, including computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti portable ice maker for only $89, or an Acer gaming monitor just $129. Plus, get up to 60 months special financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I think that Levis, with where y'all got him at 33, ridiculous value. And, yes, it would be nice to have had him with the fifth-year option at your disposal should he get to that point. But I thought with where y'all took him, it was the right place for him. Now, I do think there are some question marks about his flexibility. Let's be real, like a meathead quarterback.
Yeah.
You don't see him very often. Like a guy that's overlifted, you don't see him very often. Like flexibility is going to need to probably improve. You probably learn how to layer the football just a little bit better. I think anticipating throws is something that he could probably grow in that area as well. But as far as raw ability, the guy's got a lot of game. So with where y'all got him, for instance, the year before when y'all took Malik, I was not a believer. Saw him at the Senior Bowl, threw a nose-down football, threw a ball that was 100 miles an hour. Love the kid. Think he's a great kid. But I did have my worries about how his game would translate with how the ball comes off his hand. With Levis, I don't have as many concerns. But then again, I also think with Levis, you probably don't have the dynamic athlete that Malik is to kind of get you out of a jam in a backup situation. So I'd keep all three. For now, Malik be your backup, let Levis learn for a year, and then ultimately battle with the guys next year to see who's going to be possibly the number one.
Kind of feels like Greg McElroy was saying, I think Levis kind of sucks, but with the 33rd pick, I can see the risk on the talent. Just not a lot of, hey, I'll tell you, I think Levis, he's got the goods. Just a little disheartening at SEC Media Days. Phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Ellie is up next here on the program. Thank you for waiting. What's up, Ellie?
Yeah, my biggest concern is not necessarily the quarterback. If they're good and they have a brain between their ears, that could do very well. My concern is the offensive coordinator. I mean, if he has any semblance of success, I don't want a team taking him and just making him their coach. I mean, because that will be the biggest roadblock to any of our quarterbacks developing, considering we have a defensive-minded coach. And who knows if he leaves and we get a Todd Downing. Hopefully Tim Kelly will do a great job and just want to be an offense coordinator and stay that way. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think you have any chance of that happening. I mean, the money of being head coach, the power of being head coach, the everything, the potential of being head coach. I mean, I just don't think that gets turned down. And so the idea of, well, I hope this guy stays offensive coordinator forever. If you want to do that, go hire one of those old guys that's like 80 years old. That's the way you get a guy who has no aspirations of being a head coach. An old guy that knows nobody's going to call. I think that's what they loved about Tom Moore in Indianapolis for so long, was nobody was going to call because he was like 85 years old. I think he's like 110 now. But that's why they loved him so much. No one's going to call for an old head coach like that. But if you think Tim Kelly, if you've got a good offensive season, or if you have a good offensive season this year, and then Will Levis becomes your quarterback and he becomes a star, he's gone. Like, he's gone. Unless he's Eric Bieniemy. He's gone. So I think that is wishful thinking. Texter into the text line says, talking about the Titans, J-Rob's final draft class is starting to look suspect after PT got suspended and Hassan Haskins' legal problems. For the class to be a success without those guys, Phillips needs to become a productive player, Willis needs to become a decent backup quarterback, and Chigakonkwo needs to stay on track. I think Burks and McCreary are legit and will make a nice second-year jump. The Robinson thing, I think Robinson had a good draft class with his final class. There's a lot of projecting with that because, again, it's a draft class in its second year. And I remember when I was a kid in the 8th grade and the Titans had a draft class that I just loved after the first year. Andre Woolfolk at corner, Tyrone Calico at wide receiver, Chris Brown at running back, the heir apparent to Eddie George, and Ryan Long, the defensive tackle out of Washington State, who won the Outland Trophy. I thought it was a great draft class a year into the league. Most of you don't know who any of those guys are, and that's the point. I think the draft class is pretty good. I think Burks showed potential of a number one receiver last year. I believe Chigakonkwo will be a top 5 tight end in the NFL at the end of this year, maybe a top 10 tight end in the NFL at the end of this year. Roger McCreary's a starting corner. I don't think we can be upset with a starting caliber player in the second round, though McCreary does leave a little bit to be desired. Nicholas Petit-Frere started at tackle. There's no way for John Robinson to know that Nicholas Petit-Frere was going to place a bet on whatever the hell it is he placed a bet on. There's absolutely no way for him to know. So I can't bet on Robinson. Player. But the Haskins, the police reporting that is just brutal. So I don't think it's a terrible draft class. In fact, I think ESPN, the analytic guys, and make of that what you will, because I'm not a huge analytics guy. But I want to say that the analytics people at ESPN ranked the Titans' last draft class as the 4th best rookie class in the NFL last year. And that's with Burks and Phillips being hurt. I don't have a problem with John Robinson's 2022 class. The problem that I have is they did not correctly do their homework on Isaiah Wilson. They took an unnecessary risk on Caleb Farley, and Dylan Radin sucks. That's what I don't like when it comes to picking apart John Robinson's drafting. And I thought that the Corey Davis pick was ultimately a disaster for the team. And I know it's hard to say, well, how can a guy who almost had 1,000 yards that last year and played 4 productive seasons for the Titans, or 4 productive-ish seasons for the Titans, how can that be such a disaster? But it's because of what was behind Davis in that draft and what trading down could have given the Titans. They could have kept that Rams trade going for forever by consistently trading down and getting more picks and then picking high-end drafts and things like that. And instead they took Corey Davis, who was, for the most part, a number 3/2 tight end. Wide receiver. Texture says, how did Belichick keep Josh McDaniels for so long? Well, for starters, Josh McDaniels sucked as a head coach in Denver. So that's the first thing, which Tim Kelly has not done. Secondly, Josh McDaniels got offered the Indianapolis Colts job, accepted it. They hired a coaching staff for him, and at literally the last moment, turned the job down. So Belichick brings McDaniels back, I want to say in 2012. I think that's when, around the time that O'Brien went back to Penn State, 2013, 14, something like that. McDaniels goes back in as coordinator, and 4 years later gets offered the Colts job. Turns it down after accepting it. Well, that scared some teams off. The only job, though, that he was interested in, because he knows how important the quarterback is in the NFL, the only job he was interested in for all those years was Green Bay when it came open. They gave it to LaFleur. Then he left for the Raiders once Tom Brady was gone and not coming back. That's how that happened. Texter into the text line says, why were you so Debbie Downer on Twitter about the Oilers jersey reveal? Because I think it's stupid to be excited about a jersey reveal for a throwback uniform. You know what it's going to look like. They've already worn them. They wore them for 40 years. Why would I be excited? Hey, everybody, get excited. We're going to unveil these old uniforms. You've already seen it. What is there to be excited about? Now, do I think the Oilers throwbacks are cool? Yes. But this idea of, hey, this weekend, be ready, your eyes, you won't believe what you... We've already seen it. They're throwback uniforms. So, yes, Debbie Downer. I'm not Debbie Downer. I just think it's stupid to get excited about a reveal of throwbacks. By the way, did you see those new Colts throwbacks? Or the new Colts alternates?
I saw somebody was wearing the red helmets again, either Atlanta or Houston, but I didn't see the Colts.
Atlanta's wearing red helmets. The Colts put out this new uniform they call Indiana Knights. It looks like the Duke Blue Devils.
That's kind of shade blue, huh?
It's just crappy. I mean, it's just, maybe it'll wear on me and I'll like it. I don't know. 615-737-1025. So, a big talk, kind of, around SEC Media Days, because it's college football stuff, is about recruiting. And I just think that we need to have a discussion, once and for all, about how we should view college recruiting from here on out. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company, 1025-1063, The Game.
Green right, Fox 2 run, double catch. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, tight.
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The FedEx Cup playoffs start in Memphis at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Come out to TPC Southwind August 9th through the 13th and watch the PGA Tour's top players battle to make it through Memphis. Enjoy Memphis at its finest with specialty cocktails, local eats, a vibrant atmosphere, and much more. 2 kids 15 and under admitted free with a ticketed adult. Daily grounds and upgraded tickets are available now at FedExChampionship.com.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never abandons its commitment to free expression. Because FIRE believes that free speech makes free people. Join the free speech movement at thefire.org. Paid for by thefire.org.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Every dead body tells a story, and someone needs to speak for the deceased. Streaming exclusively on BritBox, Amelia Fox returns in the new season of Silent Witness, one of the original forensic crime dramas. For over 25 years, this long-running series has drawn in millions of fans and has earned its place as a staple of British crime drama. Stream the new season of Silent Witness only on BritBox. Undeniably brilliant, undeniably British. Free trial at BritBox.com.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah, I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one.
It's absurd. Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I wanted to ask about tampering. That has certainly been a subject that's been brought up quite a bit here lately. How big of an issue is it, and what would be a good starting point to alleviate this issue?
How big of an issue it is, I don't know. I think there's so many people that are involved in the recruitment of players. Could be high school coaches, could be workout facilities, 7-on-7 coaches, whatever. There's so many different dynamics that go into it. I don't know how you stop the communication completely at any one point. So I don't have a silver bullet for that issue. Similar to a lot of other issues that maybe we're trying to navigate inside of college football. But there's a lot of smart people that are working on finding answers to those things.
There you go. That was Josh Heupel today at Media Days. Good day for him yesterday because apparently Mike Matthews, a 5-star wide receiver, chose Tennessee over Clemson, Georgia, and USC. This is according to SI.com. Clemson made things interesting over the summer as they share many similarities to Tennessee on the recruiting trail. USC was a player here for a while. Lincoln Riley did a strong job showcasing his world-famous offense and pitching Matthews on the NFL development that the Trojans offered, blah, blah, blah. So Tennessee gets a 5-star recruit. And if you're a diehard college football fan, I'm sure if you're especially a Tennessee fan, you saw that yesterday and thought, woo, yeah, 5-star recruit, let's go. And I just have to wonder, in today's era of college football, do we care about high school recruiting? Are we supposed to care about high school recruiting? Now, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, high school recruiting mattered. Because if you didn't get the best players, you lost. So those Nick Saban recruiting videos where guys picked the hats and Julio Jones chose Alabama over Florida, that's a big deal. But in today's era, does it really matter that much? Mike Matthews is a 5-star receiver in the 2024 class. So that means that he wouldn't be playing football until the fall of next year. Then, by the time he gets there, there'll probably be 8 other wide receivers who are a part of the mix. And then there will be the guys that have already been there that are on the team, and so he might not even play. Then, if he's not playing or if he's not as good as advertised, then he might transfer. If he does play, but he doesn't like the coach or he doesn't like the breakfast potatoes at the facility, he might transfer again. If somebody were to come along and offer a better NIL deal. When I look at high school recruiting in college football, I'm starting to liken it to the Major League Baseball draft. Now, when a college player is picked, like a Paul Skeens, we know that Paul Skeens is going to be pitching in the major leagues very soon. But for the most part, a lot of the guys that are drafted in these baseball drafts, I don't know. In fact, a couple of years ago, in 2020, they only had 5 rounds. And the Braves took 3 college pitchers. Jared Schuster in the first round out of Wake Forest. Spencer Strider, I think, in the 4th round out of Clemson. And Bryce Elder in the 5th round out of Texas. Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder made the All-Star team this year. And Jared Schuster is pitching against the Sounds. I look now at high school recruiting in college football, which used to matter. It used to matter. And that's what made these message board websites that cover recruiting so mainstream. Rivals, 24/7, Scout, On3, which is the new one. My guess is Shannon Terry has started that On3, because I've never heard of that until this year, that he sold Rivals and he sold 24/7. He's probably going to sell this On3 and make just a freaking boatload. But they got all these recruiting services. I mean, I remember the old days of ESPNU on signing day where they'd go high school to high school to high school with the hats and everything. And I'm like, it doesn't matter anymore. USC last year was a perfect example of that. Team is average to below average for the last 5 years. Lincoln Riley shows up and overnight brings a quarterback from Oklahoma and a wide receiver from Pittsburgh, and on they go. Now, the transfer portal stuff, that matters. And I would say that Paul Skeens is an example of that in baseball. But high school recruiting out of college football, I don't think it matters to the teams. But even then, I think it's like I had somebody tell me that the big deal about high school recruiting right now is to make the relationships so that even if you don't get the player, when they enter the transfer portal, at least they know you. But again, I don't know, should we be excited that Tennessee got a 5-star recruit? Because in years past, Tennessee gets the 5-star recruit, they might redshirt him that first year. Because if he leaves, he's got to sit out a year, and then he can play later, and these guys want to get to the NFL, and so they're going to find a way. Now, it's like, I didn't like the way that they ironed my shirt. I'm transferring. I'm out. So in 2023, I do wonder, is there any reason to care about college high school recruiting anymore? Or is that going the way of the dodo bird? Is that the NHL draft? Yeah, we drafted this guy 23rd overall. Oh, yeah? Is he going to be part of your decor next year? No. We're sending him to Saskatoon next year. And then after that, he may be able to graduate to Nova Scotia. And then after that, probably play a couple of years in Russia. And then he'll play a year at the AHL. And then he'll be on our team. That's the way it kind of feels. Only in college football, it's like, it probably won't even be on our team. I remember when Louisville was looking for a coach in 2013-14 because Charlie Strong had left. And there was a lot of talk about Chad Morris, who ultimately went to Arkansas and was terrible, but he was the Clemson offensive coordinator at the time. And they said the thing about him is he's bringing in this quarterback from Georgia named Deshaun Watson, and this guy is awesome. And I remember that whole deal. And Deshaun Watson goes to Clemson, and he plays a little bit early on, but there's some other guy who is just a generic average backup quarterback, and then midway through the year, towards the end of the year, they make the move to Deshaun Watson. Now, if Deshaun Watson's not starting right away, he might transfer. He might go, what was it, Quinn Ewers at Texas? Was the number 1 recruit in the country, went to Ohio State a year early out of high school, got all the NIL money, and then transferred without playing it down for Ohio State? Who cares about that? So, I got to tell you, I think this is the end of high school recruiting mattering. Now, the transfer portal stuff, that's real. But the high school recruiting, I don't think so. 615-737-1025 is our phone number here on the program, 615-737-1025. You're going to tell me that I've done a 180 on Ryan Tannehill. But I don't think it's me. I think it is the opinion of Ryan Tannehill that has done a 180. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
Still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Back in 1949, Dr. Houston began the tradition of treating athletes for common sports injuries. Today, the sports medicine physicians at Houston Clinic Orthopedics continue his legacy. Whether you play at school, in a league, on a professional team, or just enjoy being active, Houston Clinic Orthopedics physicians are there to help you stay in the game. Common sports injuries include tears, strains, sprains, and instabilities of the knee, shoulder, and ankle. Houston Clinic Orthopedics is located where you work and live. Visit tn.houston.com to book your appointment online. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
AM radio provides always-on news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports. And it's also a vital service that provides important emergency information when your community needs it most. Tell Congress you need AM radio to stay in your car. Because when cell phones and the internet are down, this free emergency service is critical. And when you don't have electricity, radio in the car is often your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. And this month at Cromwell Media, we want to highlight a few people who are celebrating their anniversaries with us. Morning show producer on 102.5 The Game, Nick Keyser, is celebrating 2 years. 102.9 The Buzz hosts, Eric Steele and Andy Herring, are celebrating 9 years. Sports producer Kenny Adams is celebrating 11 years. And Derek Mason, one of the greatest receivers in Titans history, is celebrating his anniversary with us on 102.5 The Game as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together at cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. SEC Football Media Days wraps up today with Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer, and Vols head coach Josh Heupel all speaking at the podium. After a nice season last year, Vols head coach Josh Heupel talked about trying to build on that for this season.
Standard at Tennessee is to win championships. It's pretty clear. I think we're top 10 in the history of college football in wins, first-round draft picks, bowl wins. The standard is to compete at the highest level and win championships. For us, that starts in the Eastern Division, which everybody knows that there's a lot of good football that's played in that division.
The Vols got some good news on the recruiting trail last night as 5-star wide receiver Mike Matthews committed to Tennessee. The Detroit Lions have placed rookie quarterback Hendon Hooker on the reserve non-football injury list to begin training camp. Vikings rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison was cited for driving 140 miles per hour. And the Nashville Sounds return to action at First Horizon Park tonight as they host Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Pre-game coverage with Jeff Hem starts at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt. And I think he's going to coach up by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. I thought we were done with this. I did. I thought it was over. But one last time, Ian, we've got some breaking news. Can I get it?
This is DeAndre Watch 2023.
DeAndre Hopkins, according to his Instagram, according to Bussin' with the Boys, DeAndre Hopkins says it is official. He is a Titan, and he did kind of the motion with his hand to indicate that he signed the contract with the Titans. Now, I did wonder if this was coming because at 3 o'clock, the Titans announced that they had waived running back Charles McClellan from the roster. Now, I don't know who Charles McClellan is, but my guess is they waived him because they were at 90 players, and so they needed to waive a player to add another player. And when I saw that, I was wondering, is that for DeAndre or is that for George Fant? But it seems like the Titans waived Charles McClellan because they were making room for DeAndre. Now, for all of you cap people out there, the Titans do not have the adequate cap space to sign DeAndre Hopkins to a $12 million contract. But guess what? The cap's fake. So a lot of people are wondering if somebody's going to get restructured or if something's going to happen like that. And so far, there has been no report. My guess is this is a 2-year contract for DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know if the second year is completely bull crap, that it would mean like Tom Brady's 3-year extension that was really a 1-year deal, and the third year the 2 years were void, and at the end of the year, Brady became a free agent and the Patriots couldn't tag him, but it was initially reported as a 3-year extension, and Ian Rappaport was telling us Brady will retire a Patriot with this deal, even though it was the exact opposite of what Brady really signed. So I don't know if that second year is totally fake, or what I think is probably more likely is that the Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins and added a bunch of void years in there at the end of it, and so it's going to be like a 4 or 5 year contract. The years 3, 4, 5 aren't going to matter. They're going to spread that $12 million out over the course of that, and the cap hit's going to be somewhere around $4 million, $5 million, and I think they do have the space for that. But it's great not caring because it doesn't matter, because they'll find a way, because the cap's fake. Dave McGinnis, the cap's fake. So at least DeAndre Hopkins has the opportunity to help out Ryan Tannehill. Now, people will say that I've done a 180 on Ryan Tannehill. I left the Cincinnati Bengals playoff game in 2021, and I came on the air, and I said, it is time to get a divorce from Ryan Tannehill. I said, if you want to win the Super Bowl, and I thought you had a team capable of winning the Super Bowl. They got the number 1 seed in the AFC. Tannehill was terrible that year. I said, if you want to win the Super Bowl, you have to move on. That's it. You got to go get a better quarterback. You got to go out and you got to get Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. I did say Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson stinks. But we didn't know that at the time. You're not going to get over the hump with Tannehill. Now, I still believe that. My opinion has not changed. But it does feel over the last 6 months, I've been doing an awful lot of defending of Ryan Tannehill. During the draft process, there was talk about maybe the Titans would think about drafting a quarterback and completely rebuilding and moving on from Tannehill. And I said, hey, man, I wouldn't do that. Even if I drafted Anthony Richardson, and you guys know Anthony Richardson was my dream quarterback, Ryan Tannehill would be the starter. Then everybody started talking about Will Levis as the starting quarterback of the Titans. And I thought, Will Levis is not better than Tannehill, at least not yet. Why are we anointing Will Levis as the quarterback? Tannehill is a fine NFL starting quarterback. Notice, I didn't change my opinion. I didn't tell you that Tannehill's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I didn't tell you Tannehill's a top 5 quarterback. But, I mean, I think Tannehill's plenty good. I think a lot of these guys around the league are as good as Tannehill. And yet, all I've heard all offseason is about how bad Tannehill is. Now, the Titans, they don't seem to say that. But for most of the offseason, the Titans also wouldn't really commit to Tannehill. Vrabel wouldn't after the season. Ran Carthon wouldn't when he was hired. Ran Carthon wouldn't when he was at the combine. Ran Carthon wouldn't before the draft. Mike Vrabel and Ran Carthon wouldn't after the draft. So not even the Titans would fully commit to Tannehill. I told you that if I were the Titans, if I was Vrabel, that Friday night that Ran Carthon went downstairs and said, roll the dice, play the board, roll the dice, play the board, I would have said Ryan Tannehill is our starting quarterback. Vrabel said Ryan Tannehill is our starting quarterback on Monday. That's what he said. So they've got a list. Executives, coaches, scouts rank the top 10 quarterbacks in 2023. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN, put it together. Again, this is not ESPN's list. This is not Jeremy Fowler's list. This is 80 voters submitting a ballot on at least one position, and in many cases, as Fowler writes, all positions. Quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, number 1. No problem with that. Joe Burrow, number 2. No problem with that. Josh Allen, number 3. No problem with that. Aaron Rodgers, number 4. No problem with that. Justin Herbert, number 5. I'm cool with that. Jalen Hurts, 6. Lamar Jackson, 7, though I'm not a huge Lamar Jackson fan. Trevor Lawrence, 8. I knew Lawrence was going to get up there. Everybody loves the potential of Lawrence. Dak Prescott, 9. Now, here's where I think we're starting to enter the Tannehill range. Because I'm not convinced that Dak Prescott is that much better than Tannehill. Dak Prescott plays on a more famous team than Ryan Tannehill. But I'm not sure that he's that much better than Ryan Tannehill. Dak Prescott last year had 2 running backs, a legitimate tight end, a Pro Bowl guard, a first-round tackle that is good, 2 receivers. I mean, Dak has weapons now. So I don't think Dak's that much better, but okay, now we're entering that range. Matthew Stafford, number 10. I'm not convinced Stafford is better than Tannehill. Though Stafford, with literally every bounce going his way, did win the Super Bowl. But again, he's been hurt, didn't play last year, looks like he's kind of done. No Tannehill in the top 10. I expected it. I'm not arguing for Tannehill in the top 10, but okay, fine. Honorable mention, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill 3 years ago when he last played. Last year, he was not a better quarterback than Tannehill, but he's younger and he's got more talent. Okay, fine. Put Watson in there. Kirk Cousins. Now I think we're really getting to the Tannehill group. Jared Goff. Now, I thought Goff should have been in the top 10. I'd put Goff in the top 10 ahead of Prescott. I'd put Goff in the top 10 ahead of Stafford, but that's just me. Derek Carr on the list at honorable mention. Now, we went over the stats when Derek Carr hit the market, and we talked about, is Carr better than Tannehill? And over the course of their careers, Tannehill has better stats. Over the course of the last 3 years, Tannehill has better stats. Last year, when Tannehill had nobody to throw the ball to, and Derek Carr had Devontae Adams and Darren Waller and Mac Hollins and the best running back, at least the leading rusher, and Josh Jacobs, Tannehill was better. So I think Tannehill is clearly better than Derek Carr. But Carr's an honorable mention on this list, and Tannehill's not. Tua Tagovailoa. Can Tua even stay healthy? When did Tua get good, by the way? I guess all the games I watched, Tua got hurt in. But when did Tua get good? Also receiving votes in this top 10 list. Kyler Murray, not as good as Tannehill. Daniel Jones, not as good as Tannehill. Justin Fields, last year was his breakout year. They picked number 1. And Geno Smith, a career backup that's had 3 shots and didn't even get a big deal this year. Tannehill didn't get a single top 10 vote in the NFL. And Kyler Murray did. Jared Goff did. And Daniel Jones and Justin Fields did. I think I used this line months ago, but Ryan Tannehill is the Rodney Dangerfield of NFL quarterbacks. He gets no respect. I'm not asking you to consider Ryan Tannehill in the same breath as Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, because I don't, and I'm never going to. But in the same breath as Derek Carr, please. And it's amazing to me. Again, this list that they put together at ESPN, this isn't Jeremy Fowler's list. This isn't ESPN's list. This is people in the league. And they just are so sour when it comes to Ryan Tannehill that he doesn't even get a vote, and Kyler Murray does? Kyler Murray sucks. He sucks. He got everybody fired in Arizona. He got the general manager fired in Arizona. He got the coach fired in Arizona. He got DeAndre Hopkins fired in Arizona. And the way things are headed with some of these lawsuits that are coming out, it might end up getting the owner fired in Arizona. And he got a vote. And Tannehill didn't. So when I defend Tannehill, I always hear people that say, oh, you were knocking Tannehill so hard after that Bengals game, and you said this, and you did that. And I know. I heard. You all trust me. You texted the text line. You called the. It's not me who's changed. It's not my opinion that has changed about Ryan Tannehill. The narrative surrounding Ryan Tannehill is what has changed. The narrative last year was, oh, yeah, you can win some with Tannehill. And now the narrative is, he stinks. He's not even as good as Geno Smith. Which, by the way, is preposterous. He's a better quarterback than Geno Smith. He's a better quarterback than Derek Carr. He's a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. The one thing that we've always said about this program is that we will be fair. And we've bagged on Tannehill a lot. You got to be fair. And people are not being fair to Ryan Tannehill. So it's not me who's changed. It's the narrative surrounding Tannehill that's changed. I used to watch Meet the Press when I was a kid on NBC. Tim Russert, the late Tim Russert, was the host. And I heard somebody say one time that Tim Russert was the perfect example of highlighting somebody else's political affiliation. If you were a Democrat and you thought Tim Russert was a Republican, it said more about you than it did Tim Russert, because the other guy who was a Republican probably thought Tim Russert was a Democrat. When it comes to me, if you anoint a guy as a great quarterback, a franchise guy, he hasn't earned it, I'll tell you that's ridiculous. Like I do when it comes to Trevor Lawrence. Like I do when it comes to Dak Prescott. Like I highlight the fact that Lamar Jackson hasn't won anything since 2019. But when you sit there and you say that Ryan Tannehill's not as good as Geno Smith, I mean, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So just as mad as I got at everybody when you told me that I couldn't have Aaron Rodgers, why would you want Aaron Rodgers? You have Tannehill. Oh, God, give me a break. I'm saying the same thing when you're ranking Geno Smith in the top 10 ahead of Tannehill. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Keith from Bowling Green says, you no longer say Tannehill sucks. I never said Tannehill sucks. I never said that he sucked. Now, he did suck in that Bengals game. God, was that bad. But I never said that he, as a quarterback, sucked. I never argued that. I just knew that you couldn't win with him. Couldn't win the Super Bowl with him. 615-737-1025. The addition of Hopkins. Not a lot of people are talking about this. But I'm trying to find the bad. Like, what's the bad in this? That's next. Stillman & Company, 615-737-1025, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On Everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talking with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Check, check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you an experienced superintendent, project manager, foreman, or estimator? Do you possess a unique perspective that sees problems as valuable opportunities? We are an excavations and site utilities contractor. We are actively seeking skilled superintendents, project managers, foremen, and estimators who embrace challenges with a positive mindset. If you embody this mindset, apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC, build people, move dirt.
Catch Sounds Baseball at First Horizon Park tonight at 6:35 as the Nashville Sounds take on the Miami Marlins affiliate, and we celebrate Throwback Thursday. The team will wear our classic 1978 uniforms, and you can enjoy $2 and $4 drink specials all night. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Men, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, our urologists and providers have been helping guys with erectile dysfunction and other sexual health issues for years. And unlike some, at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we take a comprehensive approach to your sexual health. Our sole focus is to treat ED and related conditions. ED can be affected by a bunch of things, from hormones, prostate issues, medical conditions, and even simply aging. The fact is, most guys experience it at some point in life. If you're suffering with ED, it's extremely important to see a provider that understands how your medical conditions, hormone levels, and other factors can impact your ability to have sex. That's why you should come to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, where we have treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases. I can't tell you how many guys we've seen that thought their situation was hopeless, only to be wildly surprised. So give us a call today. We'll do some blood work with a T-check and a medical consult to give you the best shot at success. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
DeAndre Hopkins, even though he tends to be an upfield outside receiver, you can't single cover him.
Nope.
And you got to give the average corner needs help against him, and then finishing for him is, I mean, he's amazing when he finishes. He can go up and win a lot of 50-50 balls.
That's right.
So couple that with the big horse running the football and an offensive approach that wants to run the football. What's your anecdote to that play action? And man, this guy's a play action machine because he can run by anybody. So he would help Tannehill immensely.
You know, that was Bill Polian, and I was thinking about this today. I think we can all agree DeAndre Hopkins would help Ryan Tannehill, or should help Ryan Tannehill. Again, the key word there, immensely. But the more I thought about that, about how DeAndre can help, and I've heard all the breakdowns. I've heard imagine now they're going to load up the box with 8 people, and then Traylon Burks is going to be single covered, and Chigakonkwo, and then what's that going to – I've heard all of that, and I don't disagree with it. But what I was trying to figure out is, how does having DeAndre Hopkins on the Titans hurt anything? And I'm not sure there's anything about the team that is negatively affected by the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. Unless DeAndre is a bad locker room guy, which is hard to envision because Mike Vrabel, Tim Kelly, Pat O'Hara, all those coaches with Texans blood in them, they know what DeAndre is about. So it'd be hard for me to envision that. And I really don't see any way that adding DeAndre Hopkins could hurt long term. You're not trading away any draft picks. You're not committed to anything probably after this year, even though it's a 2-year deal. We'll see what that second year really means. And this is the one thing that I think is completely and totally unfair to Tannehill and is maybe not even represented correctly. We can make excuses for every quarterback in football, period. Any quarterback we want, we can make an excuse. Some are valid, some are not. Marcus Mariota had a bunch of excuses. Marcus Mariota is still not very good. But we can make excuses. What I've learned about the quarterbacks in the NFL outside of Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Rodgers, and I would say that at this point, I think Rodgers probably needs the help. And I'm not so sure we can say Allen doesn't need it. But Mahomes and Burrow are what they call the force multipliers, where, look, you can lose Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes will still win the Super Bowl. Jamar Chase missed that Titans game with a hip injury, and Joe Burrow was firing the ball to that white kid, I think his name's Tyler Irvin, was firing to him like it was Jamar Chase out there. I mean, they went ham on the Titans. And so it's different for those two. Allen, I'm not so sure. What would he be like without Stephon Diggs? But when somebody tells me that Ryan Tannehill stinks, or when they give me a top 10 list that has the top 10 quarterbacks, including a guy like Dak Prescott, that has all the honorable mentions like the Tannehill class guys like a Derek Carr, or a Kirk Cousins, or Tua, and Tannehill's not included in that group, I'm like, wait a minute. Everybody is forgetting about what the Titans did last year. Anytime they bring up the Titans and the decisions they've made, they always talk about trading A.J. Brown. Oh, that was a horrible decision to trade A.J. Brown. When John Robinson got fired, everybody, even though the owner said it wasn't true, everybody cited the A.J. Brown trade as the reason that the owner got fired, or that the general manager got fired. That is the general consensus. That's the only reason why people accepted it, even though he'd won 61% of his games, was, oh, yeah, well, he's the one that traded away A.J. Brown. So we think that this is a monumental mistake, or at least you, talking about everybody else out there, you think that's a monumental screw-up to trade away A.J. Brown. You think the receiving core of the Titans is terrible. And yet, you put that on Tannehill still? You think Tannehill's worse than Geno Smith? Let's give Tannehill DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and let's see how well he plays. It's like this idea when DeAndre was picking between the Titans and the Patriots, and everybody is saying that, oh, yeah, Mac Jones, I think I'd rather go there with Tannehill. I'm sorry. Ryan Tannehill got A.J. Brown his $25 million contract. A.J. Brown, if A.J. Brown played with a quarterback who's no good, if he played with Rex Grossman, he's probably not getting $25 million a year. Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback when Corey Davis got his contract. Ryan Tannehill was the quarterback when Jonnu Smith got his contract. So if you give Tannehill solid options, Tannehill can win. If you give him Racey McMath, he's going to lose. But what I think it's so overlooked in the NFL is if you give Dak Prescott Racey McMath, he's going to lose. If you give Daniel Jones or Tua Tagovailoa Racey McMath, then they're going to lose. Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl with Sean McVay's offense and Todd Gurley as the running back. Todd Gurley gets hurt. Jared Goff gets the Rams into the playoffs, wins a playoff game at Seattle, then gets booted out of town and sent to Detroit. The Lions were horrible. And everybody just thought that this was a great trade because the Rams got the one Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, and that Jared Goff couldn't have done that. And everybody thought Jared Goff was a nobody. He was the throw-in in the deal for the 2 first-round picks for Stafford. I mean, they paid to get the Lions to take Jared Goff. All of a sudden, Amon-Ra St. Brown becomes a real threat. They draft Jamison Williams. They get a running game. They get some stability. Jared Goff's not that bad because Jared Goff never was that bad. That's the same with Tannehill. So when they add DeAndre Hopkins, I can't see how it could possibly hurt. But I feel like the way that people talk about Tannehill when they're voting for Kyler Murray and Geno Smith ahead of him on these top 10 polls, and these are people in the league. These are people that make decisions in the NFL or at least help make decisions in the NFL. I think it is so totally out of whack. And I think it's completely unfair to Tannehill. Like I said, he is the Rodney Dangerfield of NFL quarterbacks because he doesn't get any, in my opinion, any respect. 615-737-1025. We'll hit on some phones. Plus, SEC Media Days is in the books, and I do have some thoughts as to how we can make this event that honestly really is just, I mean, it's not that good. Especially for like fans. It's not, I mean, what can we do for that? Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We buy any car.
Why sell your car at WeBuyAnyCar.com? Because when you trade in, you're dealing with a dealer. And sure, they're interested in a good deal. For them, not for you. Come to WeBuyAnyCar.com instead. All we do is buy cars. You get in, get out, and get paid at a fair price. So don't take chances with a trade-in. Go to WeBuyAnyCar.com for a free online valuation.
Find out how much your car's worth at WeBuyAnyCar.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I love the PhD Weight Loss program, and I've blown past the 20-pound mark. And I've done it all while enjoying the summer and traveling on vacations. I love the PhD program because it's simple for me to understand and to activate. And quite frankly, because it works. I feel so much better about myself because I feel in control of my weight, and I get excited when I continue to see my progress. If you're someone who has struggled to lose weight, go online to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. Learn about the program, the coaching, and the guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, online at myphdweightloss.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their 6-game series tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is David Poyle. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who said he wanted to go to a team with a stable quarterback or a stable coaching staff, and he wanted to go to a team with a championship defense, and he chose the Titans. No, hey, look, you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're laughing. You're laughing. You're laughing.
I'm not the only one, by the way.
Let me put a little bit of respect on the Titans name, and I understand I've said that the wrong way, but
is that supposed to be inspirational?
Hold on a second. You could do a whole lot worse than Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry.
That's true.
That's not bad.
Yeah, you can also do a whole lot better.
I know. I understand that.
Fair, high register.
I understand that.
Rich Eisen's crew just laughing at him about Tannehill. I mean, it's amazing. And again, the ESPN.com, where they talk to 80 coaches, players, executives to rank out these top 10 lists. Daniel Jones got a vote. Justin Fields got a vote. Kyler Murray got a vote. Derek Carr was an honorable mention. Tannehill didn't get a single vote. Just no respect. By the way, let me state for the record, Kyler Murray sucks. Like, I just want, just so that there's no debating this, right? Kyler Murray sucks. You cannot win with Kyler Murray. Yes, he's fast. No, he's not good. Anybody disagree? Okay.
Some people disagree.
Do you disagree?
Not necessarily. I don't think Kyler Murray is overly special.
I think he's a losing player.
I mean, he hasn't won much in the NFL yet.
I think he is the Ryan Johansson of quarterbacks.
Okay, I'm not sure I quite get that comparison. Johansson won some.
No, Johansson belongs in the NHL. Johansson makes way too much money, and you don't win with Johansson. And I feel that way about Kyler. Okay, Kyler makes way too much money. Kyler belongs in the NFL. I mean, he's an NFL quarterback.
You know, they love the traits for these guys. Arm, speed, youth. That's the stuff that they value over Tannehill. And that's probably why they get a few more votes.
I mean, Justin Fields.
Stronger arm, younger, faster than
Hasn't
Tannehill.
Done anything in the league?
I'm just saying, like, that's why they do that, because they see this, right? Because the ceiling is like, they already know Tannehill's ceiling is virtually, gone at this point.
But we're not projecting out. We're talking about who's the best. And that's the thing. With me and the Justin Fields stuff is you had to win a game right now. You're not going to take Justin Fields over Tannehill. And if you did, you'd be crazy. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. James is up next here on the program. Thank you for calling. What's up, James?
Hello. How you doing today, Jared?
Good. Go ahead.
Good. Yeah, I just wanted to say this about Tannehill. Listen, and you brought it up and you've mentioned it before all day. You've mentioned it before and other times. When you put good players around Tannehill, and listen, nobody could have done any better than Tannehill with that pathetic offensive line we had last year. Are you kidding me? I mean, if you put Brady behind that offensive line or Rodgers, they would have had the same outcome. So here's my take on Tannehill. Do I think he is in the top 10 quarterbacks in the league? No. But you put people around them, a good offensive line back when we had Jack Conklin. And by the way, when we got rid of Jack Conklin, that's when all the offensive line's problems started going down here. Every year, just a little bit worse when we lost Jack Conklin. I digress. Back to Ryan Tannehill. Every time he had weapons and a good offensive line, he got you to the playoffs. Yes, he had that one bozo, as you like to call it, moment against Cincinnati when he threw 3 interceptions. But people tend to forget that he took the Titans to the playoffs when he had a good offensive line and good weapons. Thank you for the call and the time.
I agree with the gist of what you're saying, and I do appreciate that. I mean, this is what I would say. I think Tannehill has failed the Titans twice in the playoffs. He failed them in the Ravens game, and he failed them in the Bengals game. And he failed them in the Bengals game. I think he failed the organization in the Cincinnati game. I believe to my core that Ryan Tannehill cost the Titans the Super Bowl in 2021. That team, the defense, the way they were playing, the way that they were running the ball, the way A.J. Brown was playing, the fact that they had beaten Kansas City at home and just freaking beat the crap out of them, too. And they're a bad matchup for the Chiefs. And playing the Rams in L.A., whom they had already smoked on Sunday Night Football, I think the Titans were going to win the Super Bowl the way it shook out. Now, if they had to play Green Bay or Tampa Bay in that Super Bowl, I don't think they would have won. But because now we know how the story ends, they wouldn't have had to play either of them. I think they would have won that Super Bowl. So I think Ryan Tannehill failed the organization. But in the off seasons of 2021 and 2022, they failed him. They failed him. In that 2021 draft, they failed him with the acquisition of Julio Jones, which they shouldn't have made. They failed him by not getting him a tight end and running Anthony Ferkser back out there. They failed him by elevating Todd Downing. They failed him by retaining Todd Downing. They failed him by trading A.J. Brown. And up until this week, I think they had continued to fail him. They failed him by firing the general manager in the middle of the season, a week against Jacksonville, that if they had won that game at home, they would have won the division. They failed him with that sorry offensive line they put out there last year. They failed him by not drafting him a receiver this year. So up until this week, they failed Ryan Tannehill for about 24 months. And he failed them in that Bengals playoff game. That was on Tannehill. That wasn't on Downing. And Downing stunk, but that was on Tannehill. Texter into the text line says, can Burks and Hopkins end up being better than Brown and Davis? No. But they can be. I believe that they could be, the combination of the two, could be more reliable than Brown and Davis, only because Corey Davis never showed up in big moments. Corey Davis never showed up in big moments and was always hurt. And that, by the way, used to drive me crazy. Texter said, you're on the money. Dak lost with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, Dalton Schultz. I mean, look at Dak's offensive line. Dak's offensive line is unbelievable compared to Tannehill's. This is the thing that I would say about Tannehill. Not that people in the national media care about this, but I do feel like most people are probably in favor of the moves the Titans made in the offseason, including the firing of John Robinson, which I wasn't in favor of, but I'm talking about what like the general consensus thought. They thought that it was okay. Because they said, well, they traded A.J. Brown. That was horrible. So fire the general manager. Good call. Fire the offensive coordinator because his play calling was terrible. Good call. Fire the offensive line coach because the line was horrendous. Good call. Sign DeAndre Hopkins. Good call because they don't have any receivers. You think the problem's the quarterback? You're knocking everything else around here. You think the problem's the quarterback? I'm not sure that adds up. But he's not Patrick Mahomes, and so I guess if you're not Patrick Mahomes, they hold you to that standard, even though they never hold Lamar Jackson to that standard. And I don't think they hold Dak Prescott to those standards. That's where I think it's unfair. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025 here on the program. SEC Media Days have come and gone. And here's the biggest problem with SEC Media Days. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE, 615-895-HOSE.
The spring menu is here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, featuring their signature cast iron pie with herb roasted chicken, English peas, carrots, potato, simple greens, and a toasted biscuit crumble topping. Or garden succotash with snap peas, black-eyed peas, roasted peppers, sweet corn, tomato, and caramelized onion. Or try the steak fritas with pan-seared ribeye. Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily till 2 with brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 till 2.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
One is a legendary NFL wide receiver.
I gotta be prepared. I have to be ready.
One is a legendary Nashville voice.
You don't have to rely on carrying the ball 250 to 300 times.
And the other has been a legendary trash talker on the playground since the 4th grade.
Nobody is a Pro Bowler on day one of rookie minicamp.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Greg, first of all, we've done these home and homes, it feels like, every year. We go to your home in Birmingham, and then you come here for the basketball tournament, and we get you on every time. But this is different. This is in our home this year. So how are you enjoying Nashville? How have we done as a city for the SEC Media Days?
It's been a great experience. The feedback from the media has been positive. We had big plans last night for a concert on Broadway. The weather hit at the wrong time. But life's, 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. So we had some good fellowship, got to see the Van Midland and a smaller venue than we anticipated. But that was really a vision that we've had for basketball, to do something special around our tournament outdoors. The cool thing is you can play basketball here indoors, walk outside on the Broadway, and have an enjoyable evening. Great food, great music, great time. And so this is one of the second homes we have, really.
So that was Greg Sankey on our show yesterday. SEC Media Days have come and gone, and let me just say this. SEC Media Days stink. Like, SEC Media Days, they're stupid. I mean, I used to go every year. I went in 2015. I think I went in 2016. Yeah, I definitely went in 2016. I went in 2015. I went in 2016. Went in 2017. Went in 2018 in Atlanta. Went in 2019. COVID. Didn't go in 21 because I told Porth when he was like, do you want to go to SEC Media Days? And I think it was in Birmingham that year. And I said, no. I said, I think that our audience cares more about the Tampa Bay scrimmages. So I'd rather take the money that we would use for SEC Media Days, and I'd rather go to Tampa Bay because the Titans are scrimmaging against the world champions with the greatest quarterback of all time. And so that was what we ended up doing. And then I didn't go last year. I took that whole week off, and Caroline got to go, and I'm sure she enjoyed the heck out of it. But here's the thing about SEC Media Days, and I think Gentry Estes wrote something similar to this in the Tennessean, which is it's not a fan event. And for some reason, the league wants to make it some kind of big deal where it's like a fan event. And it's not a fan event. It's just interviews. And not only is it just interviews, but it's interviews where nobody says anything. Like, nobody says anything. So what the SEC Media Days need, and it's going to be in Dallas next year, and I got to tell you, I highly doubt that I'll be making the trek to Dallas. We can send a red box out to Dallas, and they can put Clark Lee on for his interview. We can do that back here. But the thing that gets me is by moving around SEC Media Days, a la the NFL Draft, what you have to do is you have to make it a fan event. And so I have some suggestions. I think, first and foremost, I think the SEC needs a refresher. I think they need something to happen at SEC Media Days. The first and the easiest thing they could do is an award show. Now, I think sports award shows suck. I don't watch the ESPYs. I don't care about the NHL awards. I don't care about the NFL honors. I don't even know when they do the NBA or the baseball awards. So I don't really care about that stuff. I think sports award shows stink because, A, we already know who's going to win because the media votes on it and they tell everybody. And B, because unlike, say, the Grammys, where we can get Elton John and Eminem for a once-in-a-lifetime duo, I mean, it's not like these guys have any talents other than their sports. So it's not really all that interesting. You know, it's not like the CMA Awards where it's, you know, hey, you don't want to miss this because Bon Jovi is going to be on stage up next with, I don't know, Sam Hunt, right? You can't do that in a sports award show. So that'd be the first thing, the easiest thing, you know, an SEC awards, and you bring out the coaches and but again, whatever. I mean, not sure that would make that much of a difference, but that's the first thing. The second thing, I think that this is what I would really consider if I was the SEC, is something needs to be decided at SEC Media Days. I don't know what it would be, but it's kind of like the weigh-in of a fight, where the media goes and covers the weigh-in of the fight, and we get the showdowns, and we get everybody looking at each other and staring at each other, but the guys actually have to weigh in. It affects the fight. Something like the draw at the Kentucky Derby, where I want to say that happens on Wednesday of the Kentucky Derby, where they have that draw and they find out where each horse is going to be slotted. Like, that is a pretty big deal. Give me something like that for the SEC football season. You got to give me, like, something's got to happen. Like the home run derby in baseball. At least there's something. the skills competition in the NBA, the three-point shooting contest. Give me something like that. But what the SEC Media Days is it's literally just guys in suits doing interviews for a sport that's not going to start for 2 months. What interest is that to anybody? And not only that, the league, they don't care about the media. You know, I was being told, I think it was Joe said yesterday on the show, that as far as the writers are concerned in the Big Ten, the writers get to sit down with all the players and all the coaches for 2 hours. Here, it's like 10 minutes.
And they ask Nick Saban about his favorite type of cake. Like that matters.
Right. Now, that's the media's fault. And that's kind of the problem where with the SEC media, and it does feel a little elitist that I hate this event so much because, like, I'm in a pro sports city and we talk about pro sports and, like, I know that nobody wants to hear Chris Doering talk about Arkansas football on the radio. Like, I just know it. So we don't bring Chris Doering on to talk about Arkansas sports on the radio. But these stations in kind of the smaller towns across America, like, that's kind of a big deal. You know, that's kind of a big deal, you know, to have it out and, you know, I don't want to say, you know, something rude. You know, a smaller city in the South that comes to SEC Media Days, it's kind of like the Mecca to the big city. And so, great. But as far as trying to get me or other people to care about Media Days, there's got to be something that goes down other than people just doing interviews. Like, even the Super Bowl opening night, that's one night, but they made a whole production out of it, like with cheerleader dances and the teams talking to each other. And this is just, well, you know, really excited for the season. We've been working really hard. Okay. Thank you. That's it for us. Stillman and Company, ESPN Radio's coming up next.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Gypsy Kings featuring Tonino Baliardo.